case number 195 on the calendar in the matter of Pendleton versus Lehman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
All right, Miss Pendleton, you say Mr. Lehman owes you $1,200 for something about a photo shoot, negatives, at a Harley motorcycle. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
I found it rather difficult to follow the flow of your complaint, so why don't you tell me about this photo shoot first?
Okay, well, basically, in June of 1996, Mr. Lehman approached me with a business opportunity. He told me that...
How did you know Mr. Lehman so that he could approach you?
Oh, he approached me at the bar and restaurant that I worked with. He'd been coming in there for approximately 2 years, and I've gotten to know him over that period of time. So in June, Mr. Lehman approached me. He stated that his motorcycle was going to be published in a magazine on the parts, the custom work he does on Harleys, and he needed a model to model with his motorcycle. He told me that the magazine that it was going to be published for was called Easy Rider. It was a biker magazine, and the pictures detailed, you know, bikini, and some of them were going to be topless. And, you know, I checked them out. They were a little cheesy, but not really bad. And I went ahead and I bought a copy of the magazine and the type of pictures that I was told I was going to be taken. At that point in time, I told Mr. Lehman I'd be interested in doing it. I was told that it would cost, I would be paid $1,200 if I did my own hair and makeup, and he would take the pictures.
So what you're saying is he said that he would pay you $1,200 to do the photo shoot?
Yes.
It's totally incorrect.
So, at that point in time, I went down to a shop probably in the middle of October, and we went ahead and took 2.5 rolls of film. I told Mr. Lehman that, one, I wanted the set closed because I didn't want a whole bunch of people, you know, wagging about it, you know, around. And the second thing is that once we were done with the shoot, that I get the negatives and the pictures back of the pictures that he wasn't going to use, because I just didn't want them, you know, floating all over the place. The only reason that I didn't get an agreement, a contract with Mr. Lehman is because I've known him for 2 years. I considered him a friend, and I thought I could trust him. If I would have known that it would come to this point, I would have had him go through my agency to get me to take these pictures. I have my portfolio book here with the type of shots that I normally do.
Not interested.
Okay.
I assume from the fact that you have a portfolio, and you said something about your agency, that you are really a model and you work in this restaurant that you work in sort of to make money.
Part-time. Yeah,
Part-time.
Try to.
In between modeling jobs. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you have a modeling job, you do the shoot and you get paid.
You do get paid, but it's a billing process. The agent bills the client, and you get it within 30 days.
Right. Now you're not dealing with an agent.
Yes.
You're dealing with a friend.
Yes.
So you do the shoot. Did you say to him, give me my money?
No, I expected that it would take between 2 to 3 weeks after it was published.
Why after it was published? When you do a magazine or a photo shoot, you do it, and they may publish it 6 months later. They may never publish it, but you get your money.
Well, because that's what Mr. Lehman had told me.
What did he tell you?
He told me that after I took the pictures, the magazine normally takes between 2 to 3 weeks to go ahead and pay. And that's what he was going to give the money for.
Something doesn't sound right there to me. You're not waiting for the magazine, Miss Pendleton, to publish your pictures. You don't give a rat's behind whether the magazine publishes your pictures or not.
No, that's true.
Right? You were doing the photo shoot for him.
Yeah.
Unless your arrangement with him was that you only got paid if the magazine bought the pictures.
Correct.
That's what he says in his answer. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
But he was saying that he was going to wait and give me the money until after he received the pictures were published. That's what he told me.
You can look at me with those gorgeous brown eyes, all you like, Miss Pendleton, but I'm telling you, if you're in the business, you know that a magazine could say, I'm not publishing this picture, I don't like this lady, I don't like what she looks like, I don't want the bathing suit, I don't like her hair, I don't like her figure, I don't like her face, and I'm not going to publish the picture.
Yeah.
Right? So unless your agreement with Mr. Lehman was that you got paid if they selected your picture. Your conversations with him about waiting until after the magazine was published doesn't make sense.
Okay, Your Honor, I would like to introduce a witness because Mr. Lehman had stated the conversation with another individual.
Oh, I will hear your witness. And your name?
Stacy Kirsten.
Who are you?
I used to work with Porsche at this bar and restaurant many months ago. And I met Jerry because he used to come in there once in a while, and he introduced himself to me with a business opportunity, which never really came to be, but he told me that he had done these pictures with her and that they were published, and he told me, quote unquote, he got a very good sum of money for the pictures.
Were the pictures ever published, sir?
No, ma'am.
So that you were just pulling this lady's leg.
I never told her that.
What'd you tell her?
I haven't never discussed Porsche's business with this woman. They are friends. I have met her. I have talked to her on occasions. I have never discussed any business with her at all.
Are you a photographer or a biker?
A biker, not a photographer. I met Porsche. She has done quite a few of these contests, bikini contests, different contests, and when I talked to her, she seemed to always be strapped for money. So I told her, this magazine right here, that if we took pictures and they accepted them, it pays $500, and it states it right in here. She gets $350, I get $150. I told her at that point, because we had an arrangement where I was building a motorcycle that I'd bought, and I planned on selling it to her way before this even happened. I told her that if they went in, she could have my $150, keep the $500. She told me at that point, fine, why don't we just deduct it from the bike?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He made a comment that if she had slept with him, he would have given her the bike for free. God is my witness, he said that.
And later today,
He offered to pay you $12 for your cat.
$12.50, Your Honor. He tells me the cats are disposable.
I suppose he feels that same way about his dog.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerry Lehman says he took topless photos of his friend Portia Pendleton so they could enter the pictures in a contest. Portia says she was to be paid no matter what.
She took the pictures, sir.
Yes, we took the pictures.
All right, so let's move on with it.
But she never filled out the release form and the other requirements, so they could not be sent in.
Did you ever fill out release forms?
No, and the reason that was never done is because I had never agreed to do a contest, and this is a letter that Mr. Lehman wrote me, and he states that a photo of you holding the signed release form with your driver's license is required. Now, if he's stating that I went down there knowingly to enter this contest, why was that never done? Because we had never had that type of agreement.
Well, just a second. Why didn't you ever sign the release when she came into the photo shoot?
To be honest with you, I didn't think about it. I've never done it before.
Good question.
Thank you.
I had not gone through their requirements and read all their requirements. All I knew is I had a few friends that had their girlfriends in the magazine. They said, send it in. When I went through and read everything after we took the pictures, got in touch with her and said, okay, we need to do this.
And what happened?
We never got it done. I never did meet up with her.
What do you mean you never got it done?
I would only meet her where she worked.
So why didn't you bring it to where she worked?
She would only come in on certain days when she had a client. Lots of times I would go, she never showed up for work.
All right. Did you ever have a discussion with her about returning the negatives and all the other pictures to her?
No, ma'am.
Well, where are all the pictures and the negatives?
When I moved my facility in April, we cleaned out the office because I was moving into a small place. I threw everything away. It's 5 months after the fact. I didn't need it. I threw away a lot of my own stuff.
So you don't have them anymore?
No, ma'am.
You understand that if, in fact, any of these pictures surface, she now has the basis for a very substantial lawsuit against you. You understand that? Based upon what you just said to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to rethink that? Where are the pictures and the negatives?
I can only tell you the truth. They've been in the dumpster since April.
You better hope nobody takes them out.
Your Honor, he had even made comments to me when I discussed a business proposition with him. He made a comment that if she had slept with him, he would have given her the bike for free. God is my witness, he said that. So, I mean, I think he has these pictures, and he did tell me they were published. He said
Just a second. Listen to me. If he told you at some time that the pictures were published, he made a lot of money, that's because he is a blowhard. Right?
It is true.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the $500 that you gave him for this bicycle.
Okay, because
Did you give him $500 as a down payment for the bike?
yes, I gave him.
Good.
And he gave
Did
me
you
the
give-
key.
Did she give you $500 for the bike?
She has never given me a penny in her life. And what they need is lie detector machines sitting right here on each table.
Show me the canceled check for the
Yes.
$500 that you gave him.
I didn't give him a check, I gave him cash, but he gave me the key to the motorcycle, and he told me that he would deliver the motorcycle in a couple of weeks because it was having mechanical problems
Where did you get the $500 from?
from working.
So you keep all the money that you make in cash.
Some of it, yes, and then, you know, when I do my modeling jobs, I have the checks and I deposit them into my account.
In a bank account. In a checking account, because that's where you keep the money that you receive because you have to pay taxes on it, right? You write checks for your rent, right?
That's true.
You write checks for your telephone,
But
right?
but
Right?
That's correct.
You write checks for your credit cards, correct? I don't believe you. It's Kate, I believe him. I believe that what you just agreed to do was to do a contest. I don't believe that he agreed to pay you $1,200 even if the pictures weren't published. That's a lot of nonsense. He's not a photographer, he's a biker. And I don't believe that you gave him $500. So your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back go to your right.
For a bottle of booze, you're going to give somebody a key to a $3,500 Harley Davidson, especially, you know, somebody that you're not in any type of relationship
She don't do
for.
any good without the motorcycle.
And now the next case.
Parties on Malcolm versus Tripp. Step forward, please.
Attorney John Malcolm says his cat Virginia was killed by his neighbor, Gerald Tripp's pit bull. Gerald has offered to pay $12.50 to replace the cat. But John says that is not enough.
Mr. Tripp, this is your dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Your dog killed the plaintiff's cat.
So they
You don't
say.
seem to deny that.
Well, I don't know that for sure neither.
Put your hands down, sir. From your answer to Mr. Malcolm's complaint, you sort of... Am I boring you?
Definitely. I apologize.
Well, then I'll try to make it as fast as possible. Mr. Malcolm, you two are neighbors?
Yes, we are.
I would like you to tell me what you observed. Give me the date of the incident.
July 29th, at about 1:15 in the morning, I was awoken by the loud barking of a dog and the scream of a cat. And this was a horrific scream. It wasn't like an ordinary cat fight. It was a bloody murder type scream. I got up out of bed, ran to the other end of the house, looked out the kitchen window, and in my field of view, which is about 30 degrees, I could see at least two people standing, not more than this distance from here to the dog, watching that dog attack our cat.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell him how you really
It
feel.
stopped.
Tell him, Malcolm. Come on. Tell him.
How do I really feel?
Tell him how you
I
feel,
would like
Malcolm.
to have a piece of him. I
Yeah.
really would.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Malcolm says he witnessed the killing of his cat by his neighbor Gerald Tripp's pit bull. Gerald says cats are disposable.
Where did this happen, sir?
This happened about 10 feet away from our front porch.
Okay, so it was on your property.
Yes, it was.
What did you do?
I ran to the back of the bedroom, got my pants and a flashlight, and ran out. And I think I said something like, "Hey, you guys just killed my cat." The dog was already gone at that point. He was already gone,
You mean the defendant?
the defendant. His brother Rodney,
That's this young man here?
yes, seated with the dog, and another young man, also with a close cropped haircut like that, turned and walked away. I knelt down and saw Virginia, and she was just ripped to shreds. She was crushed.
How long had you had the cat, sir?
I've had her for 12 years, and she's been a beloved family member. My wife and children have cared a great deal about her.
Okay, Mr. Tripp, I'll hear your side of the story, sir. I'm going to make this fast so that you don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
Put your hands down.
I was woken up by my dad that said the cops were outside, wanted to talk to me about my dog killing a cat.
Listen to me. Slowly. You were awakened by your father.
Yeah, I was awakened by the old man. He woke me up, said, come outside. The cops want to talk to you about your dog killing a cat. So I went outside. I find this dude right here. He was kicking it. And then 2 cops and a dead cat. I get with my family, and they fill me in on what had happened.
Did you see what happened, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up here.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a little more articulate than your brother.
Yeah.
Yo, hold on to that dog.
Come here, man.
Put the dog on a leash
The dog's on a leash. Come
and hold it. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, ma'am. I was woke by my friend Greg, the other witness that he mentioned. He came inside yelling that there was someone breaking into my vehicle. I went outside, and when I ran outside the front door, Max followed me. I observed the cat in the corner of my eye in my front yard. My dog ran over to the cat as I was running to the car. Ran to the car, I seen it got broke into.
Try looking at me.
The steering column and everything was busted out, and I could hear the cat screaming. So I look over, and next thing I know, he comes running outside. Your dog's killing my cat. Your dog's killing my cat. I was
But
like,
by
yes,
this time, sir, the dog and the cat were on his property.
The dog chased the cat onto his property.
The dog chased the cat onto his property.
Yeah, after it was
Good.
in our front yard.
Sit down. So once this happened, which one of these 2 geniuses said to you, too bad about your cat, man?
This one.
Yeah, sounds right. All right, and he offered to pay you $12 for your cat. Because he said-
$12.50, Your Honor.
Because
he tells
he
me
said-
that cats are disposable. One's as good as another.
I suppose he feels that way about his dog.
Your Honor?
You don't feel the same way about your dog?
Most definitely. Easy come, easy go.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Mr. Tripp, how old are you, sir?
22, ma'am.
22. And how do you support yourself?
Unemployed.
So you don't support yourself.
Correct.
How many times have you been arrested?
How many times have I been arrested?
That was my question. I understood my question.
You know, it's really, I want to say once. One time that I remember. He knows all about it. He was asking me about it the other day.
And who do you live with?
I live with my father,
Who else?
my dog, my brother. They're the members of our family. Who do you live with?
You ever been in a drug rehabilitation program?
Man, that's none of your business, I feel.
Well, I'll tell you what is my business, Mr. Tripp. I'm awarding the plaintiff $1,500. It's more than he's requested for the damage that was done to his family emotionally and the damage to his cat and the suffering that the cat suffered. Sir, you've only been arrested according to your statement once at this time in your life. You continue with that kind of an attitude when you're in court. I guarantee you this will not be the last time you're before a judge. That's all.
All right, excused. You may step out.
See that right?
This is case number 268 on the calendar in the matter of Rice versus Gardner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please, sir.
You graduated from high school.
Correct.
You were in charge of the high school yearbook,
Correct. The senior section.
where they put all the pictures of the seniors, and underneath it, you know, most likely to succeed, most likely to have 10 children before 30th birthday, those little things, right? And Miss Rice, you claim in this lawsuit, where you're asking for $3,500, that the defendant caused a very ugly picture of you to be placed in the yearbook. Not
Correct.
the picture you had selected.
Correct.
And that's because the two of you had some sort of a history together.
Correct.
So tell me about it.
She disliked me due to my relationship with her now ex-boyfriend, who's my witness. And she was very jealous, and this is a very malicious and dishonest thing to do. And
Let me see the picture that she put of you in the yearbook.
this is the picture that was supposed to be in there, and if you notice, it says yearbook selection on the back. And I verified that with the photography studio.
Oh, that's not such a bad picture in there.
My eyes are half shut. It's not the point that it's like a horrible picture, it's the point that everybody that turns to that picture is going to see me and remember me as that. And that's not what I want. And that wasn't what I asked for.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that I looked at it because I was really picturing something that looked like Quasimodo based upon what you wrote in your complaint. I mean, you're a very pretty young lady. It would be very hard to make you look ugly. I want to tell you something. The truth of the matter is, I sort of like this one better than this one, but that's just my own personal taste. Let's find out what the defense is for putting the picture that she had not selected in the yearbook. Miss Gardner.
Okay. There's about 300 senior pictures that were in my charge. What was supposed to happen is that seniors were supposed to specify which picture they wanted in the yearbook.
Show her the back of that picture.
Either they were to call their photo company.
No.
Right.
She did that. She did everything she was supposed to do. Miss Gardner, I want you to look at me and tell me whether, when you selected that picture for her, did you get a stack of them from the photographer?
Yes, we got a whole box of envelopes.
Okay. That you took any special care in selecting her picture?
No. There were 3 other individuals that worked with me the first day. Turi, who is my witness, worked with me on the first day, and then there were 2 other individuals who helped me.
You worked with her?
Yes.
Step up here. And what we did is that the seniors that did specify which picture they wanted,
She did that.
Right. The numbers that did indicate, we pulled those pictures. And
Hers
then,
did.
And then the 3/4 of the seniors who did not specify, we were advised by Mr. Sonamaker to pick the top photo from each envelope.
Okay, but she picked which photo she wanted. It's on the back of her photo, that's the one she picked.
If Mr. Sonamaker had a meeting with her and she specified, he did not let me know. We did divide up the pictures between me and the other 3 individuals that worked with me, and since we were working very fast, no, I don't know who handled Audra's picture.
Do you remember who handled her picture?
No, I going through, it takes you about 2 minutes to do each one, and you don't even look at their names really. You just look to see if the barcode was there. And
now, Miss Rice, other than the fact that you have a history with Miss Gardner over you.
Correct. In which...
What other evidence do you have that she purposely picked the wrong picture to put in your yearbook?
Okay, this is what
here we go.
The process I went through.
I know the process you went through. You picked the right picture. You put the right thing on the back. Just tell me what proof you have that she purposely selected the wrong picture. Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Just a minute.
Your Honor, on the last day of school, she was pestering me to get me to sign her yearbook.
Who was?
Miss Gardner. And she said that, do you see Audra's picture? And I said, yeah. And she laughed hysterically as if to say that she did it herself. She said, ha ha ha, did you see how funny it looked?
So she just laughed and said, did you see her picture? Don't tell me as if yours in your mind. What she said was, did you see Audra's picture? And she laughed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you do that?
No, I did not. I would like to add that...
Just a minute.
Okay, sorry.
Sure you did. Sure you did. That's exactly what you said to him. Don't give me a lot of baloney.
Can I please add something?
Add it.
Okay, I did not say that to him. I do feel that...
What did you say to him? I'm not interested in what you feel. What did you say to him?
Actually, from what I remember, there was a lot of goofing off. There was other people there. Jacob did run into a fellow who did want to fight him.
What do you remember about the picture?
What do I remember about the picture?
About the conversation about the picture.
There was no conversation about a picture. I feel that he's not a credible witness. I do have a restraining order against this gentleman.
You do?
Yes.
Can I see
right
it?
Here.
I also have notes that she wrote displaying her disgust for Audra. This is going to be a quote directly from Sarah. I saw Audra at lunch, and if it weren't for my heavy bag and a cigarette, her ass would have been down. She continues to say about how upset she is And then she says, I don't really mind. It's not you that I care about and don't want to hurt, it's them.
Let me see the restraining order. Curious about this. He looks like butter would melt in his mouth, right? Why did you get an order of protection against him?
I was being stalked. There were times when he's tried to strangle me. Coming to my house late at night, I felt very unsafe.
And you had a hearing on this, a trial?
Yes, I did.
Were you represented by an attorney at this trial?
He did not show up.
I was in Utah.
What were you doing in Utah?
I went on a road trip with my parents.
You mean you knew you had a court date and you didn't show up? That requires an answer, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was pretty stupid. That was pretty stupid. How old are you?
18.
Did you tell your parents you had a court date?
Yeah, when we were in Utah.
Oh, the more I spend time here, the more I love my children.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe, no matter what you tell me, that you selected a picture of her different from the one that she had selected just to give her an old zinger.
And later today.
Well, he didn't give us much of a chance really to get out of the way. He used his car as a battering ram.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Audra Sullivan Rice is suing her classmate and editor of their high school yearbook, Sarah Gardner, claiming Sarah deliberately selected an ugly photo for her senior portrait. Sarah claims it wasn't her job to pick the photos.
The picture of you in the yearbook isn't terrible. As a matter of fact, I think I like it a little bit better than the one you selected. I do, however, think that there was some design to get that picture in there. It just seems too coincidental to me that she's in charge of the yearbook, she can't stand you, you pick a picture and a different picture goes in there, right? And there's all just too much coincidence that doesn't sit comfortably with me. But if she picked the wrong picture, truth of the matter is, I think she picked a better one. So I don't think you should be that discouraged, okay? And Miss Gardner, there's a certain thing about misusing your authority. If anything, you should have been far more careful about selecting her picture as making sure it was the right picture.
Right, but there was no specification.
Oh, yes, there was. You keep saying there was no specification, and I'm telling you.
There were a lot of seniors who did come to my attention that they did specifically pick a picture, and then they
look
weren't
at the back of the picture. Would you hand her the picture? I don't want them to touch each other. Right? What does that say back there?
Actually, I did not.
I didn't ask you what you see. I asked you what it said back there.
Yearbook selection.
Okay. Bottom line is, I believe, no matter what you tell me, that you selected a picture of her different from the one that she had selected just to give her an old zinger. The fact that you happen to have picked one that wasn't terrible and that I really think is much nicer is really not the issue. It's not, you're not damaged $3,500 worth, madam.
What I wanted to
You're not
do,
damaged $3,000 by this photograph. You damaged maybe a lesson. So what's a lesson? Less than $100, Bird.
That's good.
$100 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Gorman versus Siemens. Step forward, please.
Mike Gorman says, while attempting to retrieve a package during a UPS strike, picketer Don Siemens pounded his sign on the hood of his car, causing severe damage.
All right, Mr. Gorman, you were expecting an important package that was to arrive, unfortunately, during the UPS strike.
That's correct.
And you had to go and pick that package up at the warehouse, correct?
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that when you went there, the defendant was one of the strikers, he was online, and he damaged your car.
That's correct.
You want to tell me what happened, please?
Yes, actually, I made arrangements to have the package shipped to me by FedEx because of...
Listen, sir, I got other cases to do today.
I understand.
At some point, you had to go and pick up your package at the UPS warehouse.
That's correct.
You're in your car.
I'm in my car.
And you're driving there.
Yes.
And what do you see?
The strikers were blocking the returning trucks, and I circled the block numerous times until the police finally arrived. I went in with the returning trucks, picked up my package, and when I left, I knew it was going to be trouble. And several of the strikers were marching very close and impeding my exit. And they started jumping on the front of my car and on the trunk. They were pounding on the windows, cursing at me, chanting slogans. I inched along, and the police finally came over and removed the people on my car. Mr.
They were actually on your car?
Oh, yes, ma'am. At least 8 of them.
Okay.
On the front and the back. And Mr. Siemens was the last to be removed. And when he exited, he took his sign and pounded it into my hood. And I immediately stopped the car, and the police separated us, and he went over and took our names and information.
What was the cost of the damage to your car?
Approximately $500.
You have the bill?
I do.
All right, Mr. Siemens.
I think he's living in a fantasy world. I can't believe this.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you interrupting me? Two people can't talk at the same time. And when my mouth is moving, you have to be quiet.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mike Gorman is suing UPS worker Don Siemens for damaging his car with a picket sign during a strike. Don says he was only trying to get out of the way when Mike drove through the picket line, nearly running him over.
You're on strike.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You're circling.
We were walking the sidewalk there, yes, back and forth.
So tell me what happened.
Well, he didn't give us much of a chance, really, to get out of the way. He used his car as a battering ram and knocked us, some of us out of the way, myself onto the hood, and trying to get off of the hood the best I could. I guess my sign hit his car somehow.
What were you doing in front of his car?
Well, we were on the picket line.
No, what were you, not wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What were you doing?
I'm sorry.
Listen, you're walking around with a sign, Mr. Siemens.
Back and
you
forth.
see his car. You have several choices. You can either move to the side and make way for him to leave.
He didn't give us enough time, Your
No.
Honor. No, he didn't, honest. There was about 20 of us out there, 15 to 20 of us. And he hit 5 or 6 of us. Jason was there to contest it.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, we were ordered by our union to go on strike. We're all in front of the building striking. The plaintiff comes, he did not even slow down. He almost hit 3 of us when he was coming in, did not slow down. I don't know where he's getting this, oh, I inched in, inched out. He didn't do anything. Okay, so when he's coming out, we have more people come out to block him because this is ridiculous, the fact that he came in and almost ran us over. I mean, we're pedestrians.
Just a second.
All right.
You just said a very important thing, sir. You said you had a lot more people out there to block him. That's what you just said.
That's right. Well, we set up.
Just a sec. Hey, that's exactly what he said, sir. He said there were people blocking him, cursing at him. Right? Mr. Cronky.
We were telling him to stop.
You were telling him to stop what?
Because I was right in front of his car, and we were telling him to stop because he was running me over. His bumper was pushing right into my legs.
Why didn't you just walk away, Mr. Cronky?
Because he was already running into me at the time, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Cronky. My recollection of the UPS strike was that there were managers driving the trucks, correct?
Well, while the policemen were there.
Yeah, yes, is that correct?
Yes, management.
And is it also correct that they were being heckled, for want of a better term, as the trucks were going in and out?
We were just stopping them from doing their course of business. We were
Just
setting
a
up a
second.
picket line.
You were stopping them
Yes, we were not
from going into their building.
Isn't that the whole purpose of a picket line?
Yes.
Isn't that the purpose of a picket line?
Just
No, sir.
We're disrupting.
No, sir. That's not the purpose of a picket line. Let me ask you this question, sir. Do you believe
that if this gentleman was going to pick up his package and he had a clear path to go
He
into...
didn't have a clear path, Your Honor.
Are you interrupting me? Two people can't talk at the same time. And when my mouth is moving, you have to be quiet. Do you think that if this man, who was doing nothing more than going to pick up his package, got there, saw your picket line, and there was a path for him to go in, pick up his package, and come out, we would be standing here today? No.
He went in about 30 miles an hour also into the driveway. And on the way out, there were more pickets for him to go through.
There was,
what right does that give him to run into us, Your Honor?
I don't believe, sir, that he ran into you. I believe that you were blocking him. That's what he just said. They brought out a whole bunch of other people to block him. That's what your witness just said to me, Mr. Siemens.
We walked back and forth the street. That's what a picket line's for.
I believe at the time I was a pedestrian, an automobile hit me.
Yeah,
Is there something right with that?
That's what you believe?
Yeah, what right does
That's
that...
what you believe? How many people were out there on the picket line by the time he came out?
Approximately 20.
Okay, so there are 20 people, and he's one person in his car. Do you think that that's intimidating with people yelling and screaming and cursing? You think that that's intimidating? You can't tell me that you weren't yelling at the people who were going into...
No, ma'am.
Mr. Siemens.
We were not yelling.
He wasn't there for any other purpose than to pick up his package.
We had no
and
idea.
run over a few people. That's all right.
Well, run over a few
I don't see how that gives him the right to run over, to hit us.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You have no right to inhibit him from going to pick up his package in any way. What if it contains insulin for his baby that he needed? You didn't give a damn. It didn't make any difference. What was in this package?
Excuse me.
It could have been penicillin, it could have been a heart transplant, it could have been anything else. The fact that it was, what was it, computer equipment or something?
It was an item I needed for my business.
Your business was impeding business as usual for UPS. That's a legitimate thing to do as far as a strike is concerned, letting people know you're on strike, that you have a grievance. He's an individual citizen and he has a right to go and pick up his property. And if he chooses to go through your picket line, he chooses to do that. That's his choice. And you have no right to impede that. You owe him $461.85, which was the cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy.
Number 275 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Hayes. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
I must tell you both that there is nothing sadder for a judge than seeing a family torn apart by money.
I totally agree.
Mr. Hayes, this is your daughter.
That's correct.
And as I understand this complaint, your mother, who is still alive, is that correct?
That's correct.
How old is she?
94.
Where does she live?
She lives with me.
How long has she lived with you?
She's been living with me almost 6 months now.
Where did she live before that?
She lived at 137 Baker Apartment 1.
And she moved in with you, why, sir?
Because she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Now, you have power of attorney over all your mother's property recently acquired, is that right?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, your mother, during her lifetime, set up different CDs and bank accounts for her children and her grandchildren. You're one of the grandchildren.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, your daughter went to the bank and took out a loan against the CD that was in your mother's name in trust for her.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And she did so without your knowledge as the person with power of attorney over your mother's affairs. Why did you do that?
I went to the bank under my grandmother's consent. She told me to go get the interest that was on the CD.
When did your grandmother tell you that?
She told me, she was always telling me that, Carlonda, to help you and the kids, go get the interest on your CD, go get the interest on your CD. And I was like, no, because the interest was only $500. I was like, the $500 is not going to help me, Nana. She said, go to the bank and get your interest off your CD.
Okay.
So when I went to the bank...
When? Let her finish, sir.
When I went to the bank, the Great Western representative told me that you could take out a loan against your CD. You don't have to take out the interest. You can just go ahead and take out a loan for 90%.
90% of what was in the account.
Exactly.
And how much was in the account altogether?
Well, the original CD was for $10,000.
Okay. When you say the original CD, had it grown?
There was interest on it from Bayview Federal, where it was. It grown to, my grandmother had left the interest in there, I guess, a couple of times, and it was $10,900.
It was $10,900 when you took out this loan against it?
No, ma'am. It was only $8,000 by the time I got there to the bank.
It was $8,000. Now, how did the account read? What's your grandmother's name?
Nancy.
Nancy what?
Buckner.
Nancy Buckner in trust for?
No, it read Nancy Buckner, Carolina Hayes, power of attorney Charles Hayes. Because by
Can I
this
see
time,
the way the account is written, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were told that you could take out a loan.
Right, for 90% of the CD.
Okay. And you did?
I didn't take out 90. I only took out 50.
So you took out $4,000?
Yes.
And you had to pay back the interest?
Exactly.
Did you do that?
No, because they told me that no payment was needed to be made until June, a year later. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make any payment throughout the year. I could pay $20, $10, or zero until the next year.
Well, Mr. Hayes, this says that this account is in your name, Nancy Edwards, and Carolandra Hayes. That's her.
That's correct.
This isn't an in trust for account.
No, ma'am.
It was in trust until I moved it. It wasn't in Great Western.
I don't care where it was. Listen to me. This has 3 names on this account.
I realize that. Yeah.
That means anybody can do whatever they want with this bit of money.
I have.
You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you're suing her, your daughter.
That's
I'm
correct.
going to find out why in a second, Mr. Hayes.
Because he's greedy.
For $4,497, which is, I assume, $4,000 that she took out, and the other $400 for some sort of interest. Is that right?
No.
What?
It's for a credit card that she took out in my mother's name in Nordstrom's that she didn't pay.
I don't have that in the...
I have it here, Your Honor.
I don't care what you have there. I don't have it in your complaint, sir.
And I didn't know about this credit card because
You don't have to address the credit card. It's not in his complaint.
Okay.
It's not in his complaint. It's not here, period.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
She took out $4,000, therefore you're suing her for $4,000. She can take out that money if she wants to.
Yeah, I understand that.
So why are you suing her?
I'm suing her because she didn't pay for it. She made no efforts to pay for it. Can I explain to you how this led up to this?
Sure.
She started off from the day that she graduated. My mother bought her a new car to graduate. From there, she went on to college. A couple of years later, she wanted to get married. She came home. My mother and I paid for her wedding. It came a little over $12,000. After her wedding, she moved on. After she moved on, a couple of years later, she wanted a divorce. She got a divorce. She moved on to Atlanta. In Atlanta, she got in a little trouble. She wanted to come home. She borrowed $3,200 to come home. She said she would pay for that.
Borrowed from whom?
From my mother. Then once she got here, she didn't have any money, so she needed a place to stay. So she borrowed another $1,600.
From whom?
From my mother.
When you say she, Mr. Hayes,
yes.
When you say she borrowed the money, were you there when she spoke to her grandmother?
No.
No, I wasn't there, but by me being power of attorney, my mother explained this to me.
Just a second. When did your daughter take this money from your mother? How long ago?
That's been about 5 years ago.
And when were you appointed power of attorney?
1993.
So this all happened before you were appointed
Yes.
as power of attorney. So let me explain something to you, sir. I assume that you were given power of attorney over your mother's money because you say that she suffers from Alzheimer's. She can't take care of her affairs. Is that right?
Not only that, as that I'm the eldest. And
doesn't make any difference. Eldest. So she gave, with no notes, I assume.
No notes. This was
her
just
granddaughter money.
Correct. That's correct.
Good. That's what grandmothers do with their grandchildren.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wants all the money. He wants to take everyone's money, and he doesn't want to see us with anything. He wants to remodel his home, buy his Harley Davidson, his boats, and everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, Carolanda, because she took money from a bank account set up by her grandmother. Carolanda says the account was opened for her benefit and the money was rightfully hers.
Go ahead. So tell me some more. So she got into trouble. She came back. It's another $1,600. Go ahead.
Would you tell her quit saying words to me?
I don't want you
wanna
to
hear
speak to
her.
him.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're speaking to him, I don't want you to speak to him.
I'm not speaking to him.
Good. Go.
Okay, now my mother calls me. She says, I want you to go and give Carolanda the interest off her CD. So instead of making it, just getting the interest off of it, I went and put it into Great Western. It was in Bayview Federal. I put it into Great Western. So then I called her and told her to go down, put your Social Security number on it so that you can get the interest from now on. Therefore, I will put your name on the CD. Her name wasn't on the CD.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Her,
Hey.
He's not telling the truth.
Well, show me.
He put...
Show me. Show me that your name was on the CD.
Oh, it was on the
Show
CD.
me. That's what I want to see. Show me.
I'm saying he's lying
Show me.
about the reason why he put my name in the CD.
Show me. Before it went to Great Western, what bank was it in?
Bayview Federal.
Show me Bayview Federal. This doesn't show me anything.
Okay.
would you tell her also, Your Honor, do not call me a liar?
Shh. Listen. I didn't hear that she called you a liar, sir. If she called you anything, she's not supposed to speak out in court unless I speak to her.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm not speaking to her. I'm not looking at her.
Thank you. So anyway, I went in to take care of some banking business at Great Western, and the bank agents told me that there's no payments been made on this loan, and there's no interest been paid on it, and within the next 6 months, we're phasing out this type of loan because the bank isn't making any money on it. So I said, okay, I'll get in touch with my daughter. I called my daughter, and I asked her, I said, what are you going to do about this? She says, I don't have any money. I'm not going to pay it. Sue me. That's where we are today.
Okay. And your defense is that you didn't have to pay this money back according to the loan agreement by the bank for another few months,
No.
and therefore you were not in default.
Right.
There were a couple. Go ahead.
But he's lying. He did not call me and say that the CD was about to expire and that I better pay the interest on it or whatever. And I don't know what he did, but he closed everyone's CD. No one, all the grandchildren's, my aunts, everyone, every
How much
CD
money
is
does your
gone.
mother have in her estate, Mr. Hayes?
At the time that when she's speaking,
Now, how much money does your mother have in her estate?
she has $40,000,
And this time last year, how much money did your mother have?
close to $80,000.
And the $40,000 was spent how, sir?
It was, she's speaking of the other loan, is because her brother took a loan out at the same time, this type of loan.
Against?
And then I had to close both of them because the bank was closing out that type of
Does
loan.
your mother get Social Security, sir?
Yes, she does.
And she gets Medicaid that takes care of her medical expenses?
That's correct.
And she owns an apartment building with 12 units, and each apartment building roughly about $500 on each building.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, sir?
I have one sister.
So I would assume that with the exception of these CDs that she had for grandchildren, how many grandchildren are there?
There was 5 of us.
That most of your mother's assets, when she passes, are going to go to you and your sister. Is that right?
No.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry.
Talking to him?
No, it goes to me. I am the trustee of the account. All of her assets goes to me.
What about your sister?
My sister gets 25% of the net gross of the building of the money after all bills are paid.
When did your mother make a will?
My mother made a will in 1993, and then she revised it in 1995.
Okay. All right. Now, let me deal with your countersuit, Ms. Hayes.
Yes, ma'am.
You are countersuing your father because you say that he has misappropriated your grandmother's money.
That's correct.
Okay. Nobody made you the monitor of your grandmother's money.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Whether someone is violating their fiduciary relationship, and your father has what we call in the trade a fiduciary relationship with his mother, is something that is going to be dealt with at some point in surrogate's court or a court where they handle estates. A judge in the surrogate's court will also determine whether his mother, who he has acknowledged suffers from Alzheimer's, was able to revise a will in 1995, had the mental capacity to revise a will, and I would assume that your aunt, who is his sister, as well as whatever grandchildren there are who might have been mentioned in a prior will contest that will once it's filed and make a determination as to whether or not there has been another breach of fiduciary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes and his daughter Carolanda are in court fighting over money left in a bank account by Carolanda's grandmother. Charlie claims his daughter had no right to withdraw the money.
Let me turn now to this issue before me. What is that, Mr. Hayes?
This is the contract that she stated she signed with the bank.
That's right here.
That she would return the money?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, if she did not return this money, all that they were going to do is withdraw it.
That's correct.
From the CD.
That's correct.
Now, according to your papers, sir, this CD was originally in your mother's name and trust for her.
That's correct.
Your name was not on it at all, as your mother had CDs for all the grandchildren.
She tried.
What you did, sir, was add your name, according to this, to each one of the CDs.
Only that one, Your Honor.
Why only this one?
Because I wanted to make sure that she paid it back, and if she went to the bank to get any money, I wanted them to notify me.
Well, but you know, what you've done here, sir, is you have added your name as a partner in this CD. Your mother really had no intention of making you a partner in this CD.
She knew about that.
Don't tell me what she knows. She knows nothing now. She's lucky
That's
for her
now.
that she knows. She knew nothing about what you did here, sir, because she had no intention of making you a third partner in this CD.
I took it to her and told her about this, Your Honor.
You just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
No, I'm not.
One of the things that I'm saying to you is I'm distressed. I'm distressed because I don't understand why you as a parent, and your daughter has probably cost you a lot of money over the years.
Of course.
Or it cost your mother a lot of money. She's probably made some mistakes, and she has been indulged by an indulgent grandmother when she's run into financial difficulty. But what we're talking about is a father suing his daughter for money that really isn't even yours.
I don't want the money.
Well, what I'm asking you, Mr. Hayes, is why bring your daughter to court over this money, which is not, the truth of the matter is she could have taken out more. It wouldn't have been the right thing. But she could have taken out more than 50% of the money. She didn't. And I assume you have a couple of children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a husband?
No, ma'am.
You work?
Yes.
What do you do?
Import and export.
How much do you earn?
$40,000 a year.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do. But and rent is outrageous, and 2 kids, and child care, and I'm barely
Where are the father of these 2 children? Well, that's a smile. A smile isn't an answer.
One's in Louisiana, the other one, they take care of their children, but I'm just saying that it's difficult to raise 2 kids by yourself.
Okay. Listen, there comes a point when your family's going to stop bailing you out.
I have...
Your grandmother bailed you out. She gave you money before?
Yes.
She gave you money for $3,000, $1,600, or whatever.
But 2 of them were gifts. I
I'm not
graduated
even
with
suggesting,
honors from school.
I'm not suggesting that the $3,000 and the $1,600 weren't gifts by a grandmother. Say, yeah, take the money. If you can pay back, fine. If you can't, fine. Sir, it was your mother's intention that this young lady have this money.
Up on her desk.
That's her intention.
That's correct.
That's her intention.
That's correct. I would like for her to have it up on her desk. I love my daughter. I don't want to.
Who are you?
Your Honor, I'm her mother.
What do you have to add to this?
I have to add that I've also helped her and my son.
I don't need that information. It's irrelevant whether you help them. Listen to me.
Yes, sir.
It's irrelevant that you help them. You're supposed to help them. You're her mother.
Oh, yes, and I will. Until the
Good.
day I
Nice.
die.
Sit down.
But that's not just it. I mean, she can contest that my father, he just abuses funds. He just goes
I'm not
through them.
interested in that. Nobody made you your grandmother's money monitor. If you believe that your father is abusing his fiduciary relationship to his mother, go to court and seek to be appointed her guardian because he's abusing it, and then a judge will hear you, and we will move on. But you cannot, madam, countersue for that.
I wouldn't bring my father to court.
So, well, you countersued, and I dismissed the countersuit because you have no basis for a countersuit unless you are the guardian of your grandmother.
What he's doing is just totally wrong.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Hayes, under the law,
Yes, Your
your daughter did exactly what she had a right to do by taking out this loan.
What about
Under the law, she doesn't even have to pay it back because the account is in her name. And if she chooses to, she can let the loan default, and she can let the CD be reduced by the amount of the loan. That is her right because her name is on this account. Do you understand, sir?
That's my fault.
Case dismissed.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
This is number 99 on the calendar in the matter of Shelley versus Norian. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
You all went to high school together
Right,
That's correct.
and were friends.
right.
We're.
Relax. Graduated from high school and you thought it would be a neat idea to have an apartment to live on your own.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you found an apartment,
Yeah.
signed a lease together.
Correct.
1, 2, 3. You're the other roommate.
Yes.
And then you told your parents.
Right.
And they said, forget it.
That's correct.
So you said,
Forget you.
not really.
Yeah.
According to these papers, you said, well, I'll just hang out in the apartment. I won't be able to live there, but I'll sort of use it like a home away from home.
Exactly.
Continue to pay rent? For how long did you pay rent?
For 5 months.
And how long was the lease?
6 months.
So now, Mr. Shelley, you want the other month's rent,
Yep.
which you say you owe.
Correct.
And how much was that?
$235.
She acknowledges she owes you that. But you, sir, want $3,000.
Yep. But I have reasons, though.
What?
I have reasons.
Mr. Shelley, that's why I'm here, sir.
All right.
So that you can try to convince me why she owes you $3,000.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Let's go for it, sir.
I brought a letter from my my boss, my ad manager, saying.
Don't bring me a letter from your boss. You want me to hear your boss? You bring your boss. You tell me why she owes you $3,000.
Well, she has an $835 phone bill that I have a copy of.
Good, that I'll see.
No problem.
Did you show it to her?
Yeah, she's seen it several times. Actually, she
Actually,
even.
you know what? I have paid so many phone bills. There's only one phone bill that I still owe you for, and I admitted it in my statement, which was $375. For the last month, I was not in the apartment, so whichever ones that were there is not my fault. So don't try to blame it on me, Peter.
Okay.
The way it works, Judge, is you get paid phone bills for the month before. She wasn't in the last month, but she was in the previous months. So
what was the month that you last spent in the apartment?
I believe it was April, and that was for the $375.
And she bounced a check previously for $387 that's carried over. That's showed on there as well. And I think Chris will testify to everything that she made every single one of those phone calls.
Oh, I admit I
outside
made
of California.
the phone calls. I made the phone calls to Florida. I have Judge. I have relatives in Miami and elsewhere in the United States, and I admit to it, and I've paid them previously, and the ones that I do admit for them for the $375. But I do not admit for the other
No,
ones.
it's $835. I think
According
Crystal
to you,
testified
the ones
that.
that I've
Just a
made.
second. What was your last date in the apartment?
You know, honestly, Judge, I do not remember the exact same date, but I know the month was April.
Beginning, middle, end?
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay. I
Well, it
have
was the end of
calls
April.
here to Cleveland. Who is that?
I don't know anybody in Cleveland. I admit to Miami, I admit to New York and New Jersey, but I don't know anybody in Cleveland.
Well, I have North Dade, Florida.
That's correct. I know
April
Florida.
9th. And then after that, I have no calls to Florida, but sorry, Miss Nurian. I just turned over the page. May 1st, 48 minutes.
Damn, sorry.
Not April.
Oh, that's good.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
May 1st,
Okay,
48 minutes.
you know, you might be correct. I'm not going to argue that.
Judge, I think my witness...
April 30th. You also called the same number in Miami, so you were there in April and May, beginning of May.
The lease, Your Honor, ended in June, and I remember that I was not there for the last part of the month. As far as exact the same date, honestly, I do not remember what it was. What had happened was my parents found out, and boom, like that, I was just out there, out the door.
Okay. Let us say that her phone bill is $800.
Okay.
And she owes you $235 for her rent, which
Okay.
she acknowledges. That's $1,035. Okay, Mr. Shelley. Let's go how we get to $3,000,
Okay.
sir.
I work in a commission-based job. I have to be using the phone. I carry a pager with me. I'm always on call. If I'm at home, I'm always on call. I'm working no matter what, all the time. If I don't have a phone, which I didn't for 2 months, very much handicaps my job. If I can't call clients back, I can't service them. I lose clients, I lose money, I lose a lot of stuff. It's just everything, everything totaled up me off. I think she should pay for it. I take cold showers for 2 months. It sounds lame,
Why did you have to
but
take cold showers for
because
2
she
months?
didn't pay her gas bill. And everything totaled together, I think she should pay for what she did.
Your Honor, and in the previous matters, you know, I've paid for everything on time, as everything was supposed to be paid of.
Why didn't you pay your last month's rent?
Okay, let me explain to you, Your Honor. My parents had found out, and my bank account, everything was with my parents' name. They had everything, a hold of it. They closed everything for me, and I wasn't working, so everything was gone from me, from getting about $4,000 a month from my parents to $0 a month. I was looking for a job, I was struggling, trying to find stuff. I know people are going to say, you know, you're spoiled, yeah, you got $4,000, oh, poor thing, she's not going to get anything now. Yeah, but you know what, I'm trying to do it on myself, give me some time, I'll do it. And I've talked to him previously, and I told him, let me get myself back on my feet, and I'll pay you back. He's borrowed money from me before. You didn't see me hauling your ass. Peter, pay me.
Did I pay you back?
You did, but you didn't see me
Did it
hauling
take me
your
2 months
ass.
to pay you back?
You were like 2 weeks late, but I didn't say
yelling
anything
at
to
each
you,
other.
Peter.
The
I didn't say anything
the
to
thing
you,
that made
Peter.
me the angriest, Judge, is that she said she would pay me, and she said she'd pay me several times. I wrote checks because she was going to pay me the next day. She's all, I'll pay you tomorrow, $235, no problem. And I'm all, yeah, okay, great. I'll write a check for the rent. I'd wrote 2 checks, bounced 2 checks. It ruined my credit.
Your Honor, I stepped to the apartment one time when I owed the money $235, and I left it in the apartment in an envelope, and I wrote on it, Peter. I call him, and he tells me, I didn't find it. Okay, and I was still trying to be a nice guy, and I said, okay, maybe, you know what, it got lost because it was an envelope, it got thrown away, you know, it's a house full of men, you know, you never know, it can be thrown away. I was still trying to be the nice guy and pay him back. Oh, go ahead and laugh, Peter.
Listen.
Judge, she left it in not an envelope. She left it in a piece of notebook paper, folded up on a cluttered
How would you know
college
if you never
counter.
saw it?
You told me, you stupid... God.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They don't have phones in San Diego. You
Yes,
can't
I
pick up
did.
a phone and go,
Listen to my last
yo,
statement,
I'll
did
pay
you?
you later, Peter.
Yo, shut the hell up, Peter.
Shut the hell up.
You shut up.
And later today,
Did you have acupuncture on your cat?
She also took the cat to the pet psychic.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peter Shelley is suing his former friend and roommate, Joyce Norian, for not paying her rent and phone bill. Joyce agrees she owes some money, but claims it's nowhere near $3,000.
Listen to me, sir. You're 19?
Yeah.
You're at the beginning of your career.
Uh-huh.
We're not talking about heavy-duty problems, sir, that require this kind of anger. You understand? Sometimes you get involved in living situations and it doesn't work out. that doesn't mean you're compensated for everything from lost beepers to cold showers.
Not lost beepers, lost clients, which is...
Well, that's hard, very hard for a court to calculate, sir, how much business you actually lost as a result of your phone being turned off. And there were probably other ways that you could have dealt with it. You have a job, sir?
I was working at a warehouse previously when I was involved.
Why didn't you get a telephone?
Because I don't use a telephone very often.
Come on, give me a break. That's a dumb answer.
Chris never moved in. He never lived there. He paid rent just like her.
Just a second. So what you're telling me, you had this apartment all by yourself?
Yeah.
That's some deal. You had an apartment all by yourself. There must have been a nice apartment. Two people who weren't really living there, but coming by occasionally. I mean, that's not a bad deal,
Yeah,
right?
no, I agree
It's
with
not
you.
a bad
That's a good deal. But
Good.
that doesn't mean
It's a
she
good-
shouldn't end up paying for
Oh,
her
she's going
last
to pay.
rent.
She's going to pay you what she owes you, sir. She's not going to pay you for your inconvenience. Because
And
I
I've
don't
admitted
believe...
to that in my statement, Your Honor. I was being honest about it. Yes, I do owe him this certain amount of money.
I think that you owe him a little bit more for the phone bill that you acknowledge, and I am awarding him a total of $1,035 for both your rent and the phone bill. That's all.
Thank you.
Excuse me, step out. I've got to go to your right.
They discounted for me. I didn't have time to pay
couldn't you
for
call
it.
me and say,
You know,
hey,
I
I'm
was
gonna
in
pay
San
you?
Diego all the time. I didn't have any connections to come down.
They don't have phones in San Diego. You
Yes,
can't
I
pick
did.
up the
Didn't
phone and
listen
go,
to my last
yo,
statement,
I'll
did
pay
you?
you later, Peter.
Yo, shut the hell up, Peter.
Shut the hell
You
up.
shut up.
And now the next case.
Parties on Mizell versus Hall. Step forward, please.
38-year-old teacher Vicki Mizell is suing her neighbors, Tracy and Randy Hall, because their 5-year-old daughter, Brooklyn, broke her cat's leg by stepping on it.
I assume that that is the cat in question.
This is the cat in question.
And I assume that that is the child in question.
That's the child.
Miss Mizell, you claim that this little girl stepped on your cat, caused the cat some injuries. Your vet bills were $2,000. You want them to pay, right?
Yes.
What was your cat doing in their house? That's where this happened, is that right?
The cat was staying with them while I was out of town, but the cat had been at their house many times over a couple of month period because the cat made friends with their children. And they were from Idaho and they were staying in LA for I guess for 6 months. And so they missed their animals back home. So the cat would go over sometimes for play dates, sometimes would spend the night, had stayed with them at another time when I was out of town, and so...
Let me understand this. You asked them to do you a favor and let the cat stay at their house while you went out of town?
Yes.
And they have kids?
Yes.
3 of them.
How old are your children?
At the time, they're 3, 5, and 10.
Tell me your name.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Spell it for me.
Brooklynn.
All right.
All right, Brooklyn. That's where I was born.
Oh, honey.
Me too.
Would you like to come up and talk to me? Hmm? Oh, come on up here.
Watch your step. There you go.
Hi.
Hi.
That's a really pretty name.
Thanks.
Do you know what happened to that cat that made it limp?
When I just got up out of bed, I walked down the hallway and then I didn't realize the cat was there, and then I stepped on it. Then it was limping.
Okay, was that an accident? Do you like the cat? I figured you liked the cat. You play with the cat?
Yeah.
Do you have any other animals home?
Yeah, we raised some cows and a baby kitten.
Okay, are you very careful with the cat and the kitten? Okay. Why don't you go back and stand there next to your mom and dad?
I'd like to also point out that the cat, you know, obviously it's fairly old, but it also had some hearing problems.
Whatever. It was an accident in the house. Miss Mizell, now according to what I've read here, you don't have this cat very long, is that right?
The cat was a stray, and she was found a year ago, and some other people found her. And
So you've had the cat for about a year?
A year now.
Okay, and how old is the cat? Do you have any idea?
We think about 15 or 16 years old.
Okay.
And
Now-
there was, at the time when we found out that her foot was broken, Mr. Halls, and we all went to the vet together. The vet explained what would have to happen, and he said to me, he said, we'll pay for half the surgery, let me talk to my wife.
Your claim against these people is $2,000.
Now.
Because that's what you've spent in vet bills.
Yes, plus, yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's say, Ms. Mizell, that the vet bills to take care of the cat were $10,000. Would you have paid $10,000?
I don't know. I don't have $10,000, and I don't know.
Would you have paid $5,000?
Yes.
But you don't know if you would have paid 10.
I haven't been working. I was injured 10's a lot.
How about 20?
20,000? Mm-hmm. I would have found her a home. I would not have had her put to sleep.
But you wouldn't have paid the 20.
You know, I mean, you're asking stuff
I'm asking you
that's
these
arbitrary.
questions. I'm asking you these questions for a reason.
If I had $100,000, I would have paid 20.
Yes, but you don't.
Right.
So that you yourself put a limit on how much you would spend to take care of the cat.
Well, it's actually not over yet.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's a bad break. It's an old cat. You know, the older you get, the more brittle your bones get. That's what they tell me, at least.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vicki Mizell thinks her neighbors, Tracy and Randy Hall, should pay her vet bills because their 5-year-old daughter broke her cat's leg. The Halls feel the cat should be put to sleep.
You are not suggesting that this child purposely hurt your cat. You are not suggesting that, are you?
I'm not, and in the records it says it was accidental.
Fine, so this child accidentally stepped on your cat.
I think it's a bad break, so, you know.
It's a bad break. It's an old cat. You know, the older you get, the more brittle your bones get. That's what they tell me, at least. And what you can withstand when you're 16, you can't withstand when you're 56. So I'm certain that this little girl, when she was walking down the hallway and stepped on the cat was just lying there. She didn't mean to hurt her. Now, you were prepared to spend any amount of money to take care of your cat. These people originally offered, according to these papers, I think $400. Is that right?
Right. When I was at the...
I think that was very,
the
I think that really, that was very nice of them.
They never did. They said they did, and then they didn't. What?
In your written letter, it says here that we offered you the money.
I said you did offer, and then you reneged on it.
Because it went up $500 every day.
Let me hear. Talk to me. Don't talk to her.
Part of her bill was like $350 for acupuncture.
And then,
I mean,
do you have acupuncture on your cat?
Yeah, but this is being exaggerated.
No,
I have it right here.
Did you have acupuncture on your cat?
Yes, there was acupuncture on the cat, and it was not $350.
I have it.
Shh.
It's
Let me see it.
She also took the cat to the pet psychic, and that's how she found out that the cat belonged to another family.
Well, that's not part of your bill. The
No.
pet psychic.
Yeah. No, I don't think it is.
Acupuncture. I guess it's
Your Honor,
$336.
they offered to pay, and when the doctor needed the money, I didn't have the money, so I went to them to get what they'd offered, and Mr. Hall said, let me transfer the funds in the morning. Call me in the morning, I'll transfer the funds. The next day, it was a different ball game.
That's not true.
It is true.
Just a second. So what you're saying is you offered to give her $400, right. and you're prepared to do that.
Right.
Just a second.
Okay.
Just answer my question. You're prepared to do that?
Yes.
I think that that's very generous of you, sir. And this, madam, by the way, does say that you took the cat for acupuncture. It was $42 per treatment for $336. That's what this says.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're the cat's owner, but you said I couldn't spend $10,000 because I didn't have it. So there would come a point where you would say, I can't spend anymore. These people have offered initially.
But here's what you're missing. Excuse me.
It doesn't make any difference
But they
today.
they offered, then they reneged. They never came through. They weren't nice. They weren't helpful. They weren't supportive. They didn't say they were sorry. None of this happened.
Well, Ms. Mizell, what do you want? You want them to pay all of the medical bills.
Well, now, I mean, what I've been through with this has been horrendous.
All right, Ms. Mizell, if you want somebody to watch your cat and if you want them to be responsible for what happens to the cat, I suggest you leave your cat in the future in the hands of a professional. Then the professional is responsible for whatever happens to your cat while your cat is in their care. That is somebody that boards animals. If you elect to leave your cat with a family that has young children and the cat is accidentally injured, then you cannot expect the parents of a 5-year-old child who there is no evidence maliciously caused any injury to your cat to be responsible. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chaydez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One for $1,000 filed by you, the other $500
Yes.
filed by you, and you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you.
Correct.
And the car.
And the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that?
Yes.
What time did you board this bus?
Approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30?
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, I mean, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time in it. It has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And they...
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice?
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto?
No.
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus,
Yeah.
and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you get out
When she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. you get out of the car to tell him to move?
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people. You know.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right
This is
here.
my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't
Did
stand
I
to listen
ask
to people
you,
laugh.
just a second, did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle, I got out of the vehicle, went up to the first person I saw and said, hey, this is the only way to get to our house. Can you please move up the bus? When I got out of the vehicle, of course, other members of the party came up. They see a guy coming out, automatically everybody's instincts comes into play, and then when they create a confrontation. As soon as he said no, I threw up my hands and said, okay. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go up to a whole group of guys and pick a fight with them.
So what
Two
did
or
you
three,
do?
yeah, whole group, no. At that point, we got back in the vehicle and waited. This is a very busy street. We have a large police force that patrols the area. I figured, hey, we'll get in the car, a cop's going to come by. These people are going to get busted. They're plastered. No cop came by. We waited about 2-3 minutes. People started getting back in the bus. It pulled up. At that point, we said, great. Pulled into the alleyway, go up, I'd say, about 50 feet to our fence, which you have to get out of the car to unlock the padlock to get into our driveway. When I exited the car to unlock the gate, I heard, hey, you want to start something? I turned to my left. I saw a group of guys coming at me with bottles in hand. As soon as I saw this group approaching us, I turned to Barbara and I said, get in the car now. At that point, she looked at me, eye contact, a bottle flew right past her face. Hit the car, exploded. Dove into the car, and we gunned it. As soon as we slammed the doors, the back window shattered from a beer bottle. Okay, bottles, plural, lots of bottles. We immediately sped up. I mean, I don't know how we didn't hit nothing going down our alley, going that fast. Went directly to 7-Eleven down the road and called 911. At that point, the bus pulls by, stops at the red light. All the members on the left-hand side of the bus roll down their window and laugh at us while we're standing there calling the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive.
And later today,
His mother doesn't want him to have this car. He knew that, which is why he kept it a secret. You took advantage of him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Wilson and Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride. Quincy claims he's innocent and not responsible for his friend's actions.
So the windshield was shattered. The back windshield was shattered
Correct.
on your car. And who was hit with the glass?
I was barely missed by it, and it hit my car door and shattered all over me. I had to take a shower and take all my, totally change and everything because I had glass everywhere.
What was the damage to the car?
We have pictures.
We have
of the
pictures and
vehicle.
bills.
Now, once the police did arrive to come take our statement, they immediately got a priority call that there had been an altercation at a bar down the street, so they had to leave us. Well, it turns out the altercation was this member and his party had stopped at their next bar and assaulted 2 police officers.
Undercover cops or something. We don't know the whole story.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I have empathy for the plaintiffs. What happened to was an awful thing. Should never happen to anyone. But I know for a fact they can't say I did it because I never even got off the bus. They can never pinpoint me out. I didn't get off the bus. I don't know what happened off the bus. I mean, even if the bus driver would have saw something, I mean, it was his responsibility to stay there.
Which bus company did you use?
It was, I believe it was called VIP limo buses.
Mm-hmm. When you called them, how many people did you say were going to be on the bus?
About approximately 25. You can get, the buses they have will fill 20 to 25, and I believe they even have one larger than that.
And when you called the bus company, did you have to reserve the bus with a credit card?
No.
When did you pay them?
You pay a deposit down,
Well,
and then when,
a
okay,
deposit-
then when they arrive, you pay the rest.
Well, I'm asking you,
Okay.
did you pay the deposit in cash or a credit card?
Check.
A check?
Yes.
Yours or your brother's?
Mine.
Yours. So let me understand this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
You rented the bus.
Yes.
You, sir, are absolutely right that these people can, in all probability, not say who it was who threw a bottle other than the group. Is that right?
That's correct.
That doesn't make you not responsible for this incident, sir.
It didn't even happen on the bus that I was responsible for.
Oh, it happened, sir.
It happened,
with
yes.
people. It happened with people that you invited to celebrate your birthday on a bus. You are still, sir, responsible for the behavior of those people. You. Because somebody is guilty and somebody is innocent. Now, they don't know who it is, but you, who arranged this party, are responsible for their losses because you are in the unique position, sir, if you are not drunk, to know who in that party got off the bus and who in that party actually damaged their property and attempted to assault them with what I consider a deadly instrument, which is a heavy beer bottle.
So,
not them. They're not in that unique position to know. You are.
So I'm responsible for everyone on the bus.
Every single person.
On the bus and off.
Every single.
Everyone who was also an adult.
Every single person that was partying with you at your birthday party, sir. You hired the bus.
I never got off the bus. I don't know.
Doesn't make any difference, sir.
It does to me.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive. Now, you have something that you believe is meaningful to this case that you wish to contribute?
Yeah, I do, Your Honor.
Sure.
First of all,
Step up right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My cousin and myself never got off the bus at any point. And
didn't you understand what I just said?
I don't know how you can expect him to keep track of 25 people.
He invited them to his bus.
So how is he supposed to keep track of it if they're all adults?
If he can't keep track of them, then he shouldn't have invited them. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then he wouldn't be standing here today, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
He invited them to come on board for a drinking evening. He is therefore responsible for everything that transpires during the course of that evening. And one of the things that transpired was these people were put in fear of their lives. And if he wishes to turn around and do some detective work and try to figure out who it was that got off the bus and threw bottles at them and smashed their cars,
I hope he would.
That's no, you.
No, I
not
hope he
them.
would. My cousin doesn't want to be here. Do you think if he knew who did it, he would be taking the blame for this?
Well, then he should have been more selective about who he invited on the bus. And he should have seen to it that once the people on the bus started to drink a little too much and started to get a little out of control, he said to the bus driver, who he had hired, because you remember, he sent the check, he hired the bus. These people are a little too unruly. You better take us home because I don't know what's going to happen with them. You, sir, between these innocents and you, you're responsible. Judgment in this case is for one plaintiff in the amount, Barbara, in the amount of $1,000, and you, sir, the amount of $500 as requested. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go. Sorry. At the back door to your right, please.
These people do deserve money, but I believe I'm not the one responsible for it. I think I would have been much better off using a different defense, like the bloody glove defense. This is just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schramm Snyder versus Blankenship. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Vera Schramm says her neighbor, 29-year-old Marcy Blankenship, ripped off her 15-year-old son Toby when she sold him a car that doesn't run.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
You went and bought a car from the defendant.
Yes.
Did you tell your parents?
No.
Why?
Because I thought they'd say no.
How much did you pay for this car?
$400.
Where'd you get the money from?
My bank account.
When did you find out that he had bought the car?
Almost a week later on November 4th.
You're his mother?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that he bought the car.
I had called his friend's house to see if he was there. And while I was on the phone, the other parent said, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to do with Toby's car. I said, car? What do you mean car? Like vehicle? He says, oh yeah, it's parked out on the street, and what are we going to do for street sweeping day? I said, didn't know anything about it. Where did he get it? How long has he had it? So of course we went right over and visited the car and the parents, and I got the paperwork.
Now, you were keeping this a secret?
Yes.
How old were you when you bought the car?
15.
How did you find this car?
I was walking home from my friend's house and I just saw it on the street.
They have a for sale sign?
Yes.
How much were they asking for the car?
$700.
So you paid $400?
Yes.
Who drove the car to where it was ultimately parked?
We pushed it because it didn't run.
How far did you have to push it?
Like 6 or 7 blocks.
Did you ever move the car?
Oh, yeah, and we pushed it to the mechanic. Because she said all it needed was a tune-up, so we pushed it because it was right by his house.
Did you get it tuned up?
Yes.
How much did that cost you?
$55.
And then what happened with the car?
Still didn't run because we took it and we got we got it checked and stuff, and it said that one of the cylinders was bad, so.
What'd your mother say when she found out you bought this car?
She was real mad. And then she put me on punishment.
Where'd you get this $400 from? Did you work for the money?
I went to work in the summer with my dad.
So, you sold him a car.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No, I didn't.
Doesn't look 18 to me.
He knew about the car. He phoned 3 times on the car. He came by inquiring about the car twice. I asked him if the first night he came by if he wanted to drive it or if he wanted to leave me a deposit, and I would be more than happy to take the for sale signs off of it. He said no, he didn't have his wallet with him. So I figured he didn't want to drive it because he didn't have his license with him, and that was fine. I showed him the car in and out. I started it up for him and everything, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said it was perfect. He'd be back the next day to please not sell it.
How come I asked you if he doesn't look 18 and you give me this whole long story? Doesn't look 18 to me. Now, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now. You cannot enter into a contract with a minor because they're not always so clever. So that's why we have laws that protect minors from entering into contracts. So you have to give him his money back.
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vera Schramm is suing Marcy Blankenship because she sold her 15-year-old son Toby a car that doesn't run. Marcy claims she didn't know Toby was a minor.
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk. Anybody who has half an eye can see that this young man is not the age of majority. You took advantage of him. I believe that you took advantage of him. And you can't do that. So you owe him $400. Sir, you paid $55 to have the car tuned up?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's form of punishment. I'm sure your mother has something else planned for you if she hasn't already conjured up the appropriate punishment, including, at 15 years old, would seem to me, requiring somebody else to sign off if he wants to go take money out of the bank.
Absolutely. That's a lesson to be learned.
Sure is. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. You did return the car?
Not yet.
Do it. She's got to get the car. He's got to get his money back, at least part of it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your rest. Case number 327 on the calendar in the matter of Matar versus Soria. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
You pronounce your name Matar?
Matar, yes.
Miss Matar, this is your little girl?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she was playing at a friend's house with your children.
Yes.
And that, unfortunately, she was bitten by your dog.
Yes.
This dog. And you seek reimbursement for your medical bills.
Yes, please.
There is no dispute that your dog bit her. It scratched her, is that right?
Right, there's no dispute as to that, no.
Well, then why don't you tell me why you don't believe you're responsible for the child's medical bills?
First of all, Your Honor, my dog, he's really good. He always has a problem with sensitive ears. And when the children started coming over, I make sure, and I told him, the dog is fine, just don't pull his ears. Because he'll react. He reacts to adults, he reacts to us. It's a problem that he's had since he was a puppy. He's now 6 years old.
Okay, so that I found interesting in your answer. You said that the dog has had a problem with his ears since he was a puppy. Tell me what kind of problem.
It's really hard for me to tell you. I taken him to the vet, and he says, well, he just has sensitive ears. There's nothing wrong with him inside that he can see that's physical. It's just a sensitivity that he has.
Well, what has the dog done?
He hasn't done anything to anybody before. What he's done, and my daughter can probably show you, is if you grab his ears and try to extend them, he tries to move, kind of bite off your hand off his ears.
So he tries to bite off your hand to let...
Because he is not comfortable with that. And that was something that I explained to the children, not only when they first started visiting, but every single time that they went to play with the dog. I say, you can play with him, you can pet him anywhere you want, just don't pull his ears. He's fine if you just, touch him down, but if you extend them, he has a problem with that. Hi.
Hi.
Veronica, can you tell me about the day that you went and played in the house where that dog was?
First, I went to my friend Christy's house.
Is that their house? How old is Christy?
8. 8.
And how old are you?
8.
Okay, sit still, okay? So you went to play at the house, and what happened?
I pet the dog and he bit me.
Where did you pet him?
On the head.
Did you pull his ears? You sure? You just went to pet him. Had you played with the dog before? Dog never bit you before. Where were you bitten, Veronica?
Over here and that.
Right over here where that mark is? Did it hurt? Did you have to go to the doctor?
The hospital.
What happened to you in the hospital?
The doctor put me some stitches.
Do you know how many stitches you had? And how long ago did this happen? A while ago? My eyes aren't so good anymore. So I need these glasses to really get a good look at, your face, because your face is beautiful. Right? Just had that little mark on it, so let me see. Come close to me. Oh, it's going to be gorgeous. People aren't going to look at that. They're going to look at your gorgeous eyes. Right? I'm telling you. Okay. Why don't you go sit down? You feel better about going to sit down? Yes? Okay. Bird? Sure. Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
It's obvious that it was in her house, it's her dog, and if she knows that he has a problem, keep him away from children. Don't give the responsibility for 8-year-old to know what she has to do. And I understand what you're saying. The point, too, is that the responsibility of having a dog is almost, the words that your husband told me was, well, what kind of people are you to have a dog? Well, I'm sorry.
Miss Soria, listen to me. Things get hot when you're in the middle of a dispute. I think that sometimes animals are unpredictable. And even though an animal has not done anything in the past, you never can tell when something is going to trigger some sort of aberrant behavior, like biting a child. Your dog, while you tell me that he has not bitten anybody before, clearly had a problem with his ears. Now, according to the child was not pulling his ears straight out, which is what you say causes him to act out that way. According to this little girl, that didn't happen. But clearly, someone is responsible minimally for the medical bills that these people incurred. Can I see your medical bills? Because as between this lady and you, it was within your home that this happened. So somebody is going to be financially damaged. And I'm not talking about the little mark that's on your daughter's face. That's going to go away, hopefully.
Well,
and
I have a report from a doctor that will scar forever.
Well,
she has 2 scars on her face, one on her cheek, one under her nose.
I just want to know what the bill was so far.
We paid $2,500 cash for the plastic surgeon to do her face.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know he has a problem, lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't
ruin
ruin
a little girl's
We didn't
life.
know he had a problem. Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
And later today,
I mean, talk about losers. You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Micheline Matar's 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills. Maria claims she told Veronica not to touch Pebbles on her ears, but she didn't listen.
Mrs. Matar, I'm going to come to you. You seem like an intelligent lady.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you knew that these people had a dog in their house. And an intelligent person also knows that when little children are around a dog, something can happen. Now, I'm not saying that you are responsible, but you clearly knew that they had a dog, right?
Things can happen anywhere you go.
Thank you.
Right.
That's my point, too. When a dog bites somebody, regardless of where, when, and how, it usually becomes the owners of the dog's responsibility. It's almost a relativity here as to, okay, so by default, you know...
No, Miss Soria, you're missing the point, madam. The point is that you were, A, aware of the fact that your dog had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever tell that to Mrs. Matar?
No.
Well, you see, that's a responsibility that you have. Because then Mrs. Matar would have been on notice. And she would have known that what you knew about your dog, that your dog had a certain sensitivity. And then I would say, well, she assumed the risk if she let her children go to your house to play. You can't say that I'm telling an 8-year-old and therefore I've completely absolved myself of responsibility. If you told the mother, and after you told the mother, she said, dog looks perfectly fine to me, I'm going to let my children go over there, then she is, in at least in part, negligent. You would agree with that, right?
Yes, I do.
But you didn't tell her, and that was a mistake. Telling the children is not telling her. Now, they have medical bills now of $2,500. Somebody's got to pay for that. You had the knowledge about your dog. She did not. So you have to pay these medical bills, and the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
What about the scars? I'm sorry, Your Honor. What about the other charges that I have to do another surgery for her to take out all the scars on her face?
Let me tell you something. Right now, to date, your medical bills are $2,500.
Okay.
Right? If you have additional medical bills, there on notice, they may be responsible. It may be that as your daughter gets older, this little mark that's right over here is going to fade.
I spoke to a specialist, which he
You
told
may
me that it
have
will
spoken
not.
to a specialist, but I'm telling you, as your daughter gets older, she's still a little child. Her face is going to grow, her skin is going to grow, and what looks like a 1/4 of an inch scar now may be nothing more than a dot later on, and you as a responsible parent might not want to put your child through an additional surgical procedure. So right now I'm giving you your medical bills to date, which are $2,500. Now you have to know, Ms. Matar, also, if you allow your children to go next door to a neighbor to play and the neighbor has a dog, a little dog like this, that looks perfectly harmless. There is always that risk. I don't think that there was anything malevolent about what the defendant did. I mean, according to what she tells me, the dog has never bitten anybody else. But you have a responsibility to tell the parents, not the children, of people that come into your house, that this dog has now bitten one child. Because the next time, if this happens to somebody else, you are responsible for punitive damages. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, I'm about to go to your right.
You know he has a problem. Lock him outside.
You know, if you had
don't ruin a little girl's
we didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
Well,
You did not even bother to call to ask how my daughter was.
And now the next case.
Parties on Flubacher versus Fi. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Renata Flubacher says she bailed 19-year-old Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and has not been paid back.
The defendant was a friend of yours, according to your complaint. She had had some trouble with her mate.
Correct.
Some domestic violence, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You had him arrested?
Yes, I did.
And then you thought better of it.
Yes.
So you called your friend and asked her to bail him out of jail.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I was unsure of it at first. I didn't know the procedures of what the law meant and what exactly. At first, it was just that she needed to borrow the money, and then it ended up she needed a co-signer, which was a lot more because I didn't know the gentleman. And of course, what I knew of him was all negative because what
You
had
mean the
happened.
gentleman that she lives with?
Well, her boyfriend.
Her
yes.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So how much did you spend the first time to bail him out of jail?
I think it was $325 after all the court fines.
And you borrowed that money from her?
Yes.
You promised to pay her back?
Yes, I did.
And you haven't?
No, I haven't had a chance.
How long ago was this?
It was in May, I think.
Now then he got himself arrested again.
Right. He got on probation and then was arrested for the same thing pretty much from what my understanding is. Not on her, but on somebody else.
He sounds like a real charmer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renata Flubacher says she bailed Courtney Fi's boyfriend out of jail twice and is suing Courtney to get the money back. Courtney feels it's her boyfriend's debt.
What was he arrested for the second time?
Assault.
On whom?
Some guy, I don't know. Some guy he fought with.
And what happened?
He had called me from jail and was crying and telling me that he respected me and that one of the main problems with Courtney and I was that he wouldn't let me see Courtney. He said that my friendship with her, that I had bad influences
This is Courtney?
on her. Yes. That I had bad influences on her. I've known her since 6th grade, and he pretty much told Courtney who she could and could not see, and he pretty much was just apologizing and saying that, you know, if I got him out again that things would be different and that she could see me. Because when I got him out the first time, I pretty much didn't speak to Courtney again. You know, I didn't hear from her. She was at his house. I would call there. He would get upset with her, yell at her, tell her, you need to tell that girl to quit calling here.
You mean this is after
I bailed him out of jail.
After you bailed him out.
So he pretty much just begged me, and then he started saying some things about if his probation officer found out that he had violated his probation, he would go to jail for 6 years. And he was like, I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to go to jail for something I don't deserve, and something like that. So I called Courtney, and I was like, you know, Courtney, is this true? And from what she understood, it was all true. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you have another way to get him out? You know, do you need the money? She was like, yeah, I need the money, and I can't live without him, and I need him to be out of jail. And
did you say that to her?
I did say that.
You couldn't live without him?
Well, I did love him very much.
Sounds like a manipulative sucker.
Yeah. Well, at first he wasn't like that, but...
So how much did it cost you the second time?
It was $325 again. And this time with a lot more writing his, because I had to co-sign also again because neither one of them know anybody who has any type of liability, and it was a lot more money this time if he didn't end up going back to court.
Did he go back to court?
No, he didn't. I ended up having to call bounty hunters on him to pick him up. He was supposed to go to court, and Courtney and him got in a really big fight within a week or something. Something blew up, and he was staying at his other girlfriend's house, and we had to call the cops, and they had to do all this stuff, and the bounty hunters came and picked him up and had to take him to court, and then he got put back in jail.
So how much did the whole exercise cost you?
It was a little over $900.
All right, Courtney, let me hear your defense to this.
Well, I believe that I owe her for bailing him out the first time, but I didn't ask her to bail him out the second time. And he's the one that asked her, so I think that she should be suing him for the rest.
Well, she did, in fact, call you after she got this jailhouse call.
Yes, and I told her if she wanted to do it, that I would like her to do it, but I wasn't asking her to do it.
You said, I'm not asking you to do it, or did you say, I love him and I can't live without him?
Yeah, I said that, but I'm not asking you to bail him out.
She did say that, too. She's like, well, I'm not asking you, I'm just... She said something like, I'm not asking you because I know you've already done this once, and I know I already owe you money, but I love him so much, and I can't live without him, you know? And I was just like, okay, so do you want me to leave him in jail, or do you want me to get him out of jail? You know, this is up to you. And I told her straight out, I was like, you owe me this money. I can't stand. I don't like what he does to you. I don't like the way he treats you. I don't like the way he treats me as somebody who's helping him. And
did you say that to her when you spoke to her on the phone?
Yes, I did. And we went together to the Bonds place, and I was like, Courtney, this is a lot of money. I was like, I've worked so hard for all this money. And
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress and a full-time student. And I've been saving all my life. I was like, this is my savings, and you know, you will pay me back this money.
When did Prince Charming finally leave the picture?
About a month ago.
Under what circumstances?
I just couldn't take it anymore.
And he's going back to
and
jail.
he's actually wanted again, and I'm trying to help his aunt out because she's going to have to put up $14,000 if he doesn't turn himself in. So I'm helping her.
You mean he got somebody else to put up bail for him?
Oh yeah, his aunt
and he
bailed him
didn't
out.
show up.
And he hasn't showed up, and I'm the only one that he calls, so I'm trying to set him up.
Let me tell you what you should try to do. Change your number.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe the plaintiff when she says she couldn't stand your boyfriend. Sounds to me as if she had good cause. He tried to come between the two of you. He's clearly abusive. He's unreliable. And yet, because of your friendship, she bailed him out of jail. Big mistake. Don't do it again. I'm sure you won't. You know, you're a hardworking gal, and if you have been diligent about saving your money, save it. You know, bailing him out is like taking the money and throwing it down the sewer. But there is no question that I believe that you assured her on both occasions that you would be responsible for this money because she was not relying on the boyfriend to pay her back. She was relying on you to pay her back. Your lawsuit seeks $800. You have to pay her. It's the right thing to do. Okay? Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
3 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Ms. Sullivan, your complaint alleges that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
Over a year ago.
Right.
And you're suing him for the hospital bills.
Right.
So I want you to tell me where he assaulted you, how he assaulted you, and why you waited a year to bring this lawsuit.
Ron and I had known each other about 5 months, or we were together for about 5 months. After 3 months, we moved in together. And probably about 2 months after that, Ron and I had an argument in our apartment, and he asked me to leave, and I told him to go to his friend Jesse's house, and that I would be gone by the time he got back. It turned into just an argument, and he picked me up and he threw me out the door into the railing. I walked down the stairs into the Chevron station, where I called the police and my dad. The police came and arrested Ron. Ron and I didn't speak for 2 weeks. After that, we got back together, and Ron agreed to help me pay the hospital bill.
Okay, so you got back together again. And how long were you back together again?
Off and on, probably 7 months.
When you say off and on for 7 months, you mean you lived together?
No.
You didn't stay at his house?
No. After that, my cousin and my grandmother, after I left the hospital, had to go to my apartment and move me out because my knee was sprained and I had 8 stitches in my face and a slight head concussion. And I moved into my Aunt Anna's house at that time.
So you never again stayed at his house?
No.
But you dated?
Yes.
And then what happened?
It just didn't work out. He agreed to pay half of the hospital bill or help me out with the bills. And when we broke up, I had called him and asked him if he was still going to help me, and he told me, good luck, I'm moving in November to go to the wrestling camp. Okay. So that's when I decided to take him to court.
You made an agreement with him, according to you, that you consented to for him to pay for half of the medical bills.
Right, and he had agreed to it.
Okay. And how much were the medical bills?
It's $1,177 now in a collection.
$1,177.
Right.
That's the whole bill?
Yeah, in collection. The whole bill was $882.
Well, it was $882, and then they built up interest on it.
Right, which is on my name in collection.
Why didn't you pay any part of the bill?
Because I just hadn't done it, and then when I
had I know you hadn't done it, but my question is, why hadn't you done it?
I had just figured that Ron put me in the hospital, then he should have to pay for it. Why should I have to go through that and pay for it, too?
Well, I'm just asking you. I understand that. But what I'm questioning you about is, if you agreed with him that he would pay half the bill, why didn't you, since you were going to pay the other half, pay the other half instead of stiffing the hospital completely?
I just didn't do it.
Well, that's not very responsible.
It's not.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress.
Now, you're suing him for a lot more than half of $1,177.
Right.
Why?
I'm suing him $1,200 for the 6 weeks of loss of work.
Why?
Because I missed work because of him.
But you were seeing each other after this incident. I'll get to you in a second.
Yeah, we were.
And even at the time when you separated 7 months later, according to you, you still said to him, what about the half of this hospital bill that you said you were going to pay?
And he didn't want to do it.
Also, I still don't understand why now you're tacking on a whole lot of other things.
I had changed my mind. I had decided, why should I have to pay for half of it when it wasn't even my fault? He put me in the hospital. He should pay for the whole thing.
But you, according to you, had an oral contract with him to pay for half of the bill.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Now, Mr. Smith, you want to tell me?
And what it was when we were living together, she was purchasing cocaine. And I have 2 kids. I paid my child support. I only get to see one of them. And I didn't want anything to jeopardize my son being able to come and visit me in my home. And something like that would. I asked her to leave. She refused to leave. I didn't pick her up and throw her out the door. She got hit with the door. She stuck her foot in the door. And then I put my hand on her to get her out the door and close the door behind her. I did not physically pick her up and throw her out the door. I went through my anger management classes, and
you pled guilty to the assault.
I pled no contest.
That's the same as guilty?
Yes. I went through my anger management classes, and like she says, you know, I did agree to pay half of the hospital bill. I did. It was all fine and good until just a little while ago. What it is she calls me up, and when she does call me, she's drunk. And all she wants to do is make up. She's pledging undying love and affection. You know, she wants to be with. She comes to my work drunk. She calls me up, pledging undying love and affection. You know, she wants to be with. She comes to my work drunk. She calls me up drunk, telling me that she loves me. She just wants to be with me. She's never loved anybody like me before, and blah, blah, blah whatsoever. And when I told her, no, I'm sorry, I'm moving, I'm going to Atlanta, she wanted to come to Atlanta with me. After the incident happened, she quit her job so she could move to Minnesota because she was going to be with her mother. It had nothing to do with me at all. That's why she missed that work. She quit her job.
Okay.
I did not make contact with her after the incident. She made contact with me.
Tell me about this argument. The reason that you say that you pushed her out of the house was because of cocaine.
Yes.
Was she, according to you, selling cocaine?
She was buying it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since when do I do drugs?
You don't smoke pot?
No, I don't.
You don't
Do you?
get drunk?
Oh,
you called
God.
the studio drunk off you.
And later today,
He broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, he needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Misty Sullivan says her ex-boyfriend Ron Smith assaulted her during an argument and wants him to pay for her medical bills. Ron doesn't deny he injured Misty, but says they agreed he would pay only half of the bills.
Tell me about this argument.
I tell her, I don't want this in my home. I told her that when she got off the phone. We argued about it. I don't want this in my home. Like I said, my son comes over. So the next day, I go to work and I come home and she's on the phone with one of her ex-boyfriends that she's making this cocaine deal with. And I told her right then and there, don't do it in this house. I don't care if you go down to the payphone down the street. Don't do it in here.
And that precipitated this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
Truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument was about. Well, say nothing. That doesn't excuse the fact, madam, that he put his hands on you.
No.
That doesn't excuse that. That's saying that he has a right to have you out of his house. If you're that dumb, that you would involve the household in a situation where even for a moment there was going to be a drug transaction taking place, even on the phone. That still doesn't excuse her, someone of your size, from giving her a shove outside, and she was clearly injured, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, somebody's got to pay for that. According to what she says, and according to what you seem to acknowledge, that you had agreed to pay for half of the medical bill. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you didn't pay and she didn't pay, so the only one that got stiffed so far is the hospital that provided the service. That doesn't sound fair, right?
Right.
So, you have to pay, sir. You have to pay half, and I'm going to round it off because I like round numbers. $1,177 we're going to take to $1,200, so the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Let's back up to your right.
I think the justice system is the best in the world. Thank you, Judge Judy. I'm sure she'll find something else to give me hell about before I leave. I got like another week or so.
And now the next case.
Parties on Urea versus Snyder. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Christy Urea says she and 24-year-old Christian Snyder were engaged to be married until she caught him cheating. She's suing for credit card bills and wedding expenses.
How old are you?
24.
Young looking. You're lucky.
Thank you.
But not smart. Because according to this complaint, you were engaged to the boss's daughter.
That would be me.
And you had a little tryst with somebody in the office. And then the engagement was over. And she says that you owe her money from all the things that she spent for the wedding and some other credit card bills. And you signed a note. And then she said you didn't pay. Is that what this is about?
Yes, he stopped paying. He had been paying for a
Okay,
while.
so that's pretty much what this is about. Was he working for your father at the time that you became engaged? Is that how you met him?
No, it's not.
Because this becomes important in this story later. He said he was coerced into signing this note. So who was he working for when you met him?
He was working for an automotive shop somewhere down in Montclair.
As a mechanic?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And how long did you know him before he came to work for your father?
Probably a little over a year.
Is that right?
It's about right, yeah.
And what kind of business does your father have?
An automotive repair shop.
So it was the same kind of business?
Yes.
And what were you doing for her father? Working as a mechanic?
Yeah, and also helping run the office.
Do you have any brothers?
Yes, I have a brother.
Does he work in the business?
No.
Do you have any other sisters?
I have a sister, yes.
Does she work in the business?
No.
So there you have a business that could grow into a business that's yours. Did that ever occur to you?
Yeah.
Then you became engaged when?
March of this year.
And you made certain preparations?
Yes, we did.
Like what?
Well, we reserved the chapel to get married. I have wedding invitations that we had made up. I had a dress. My girls got their dresses.
Just stop playing, Look at me. When was this wedding supposed to take place?
August 30th.
And tell me when the engagement was broken.
But July, beginning of July.
By whom and why?
By him, because he said he needed to find himself, and then I found out he was sleeping with one of the girls from my dad's work.
How did you find that out?
Because his mother called me at midnight and told me, because I guess she'd gone by his mom's house.
The girl had gone by his mom's house? Did you confront him with that?
Yep.
What'd he say?
He tried to talk his way around it, and I went to the girl's house, and his car was there, and he admitted to it. And then he tried to come back to me after that, and then he went back to her, and he played a game for a little while.
Did you tell your father?
Oh, yes.
So you were willing to go through with this wedding even though you found out that he was fooling around. So
oh, no.
Because you said he broke the engagement.
Yes, he broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, well, that's not, that's the reason why, but that's not the reason he gave me.
What was the reason he gave you?
He needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Same girlfriend that you were meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christy Urea called off her wedding when she discovered her fiancé, Christian Snyder, was cheating. She's suing for wedding expenses and credit card bills. Christian says he paid Christy's college tuition, making them even.
So then you signed a note, right?
Yes.
It's right here.
Well, show it to him because that'll make it easier. I don't have to show him the copy that I have. That's the note that you signed, sir?
Yes.
Well, tell me about that because you say you were coerced into signing the note.
I was told that if I signed it, it could be negotiated later, but I needed to sign it so I could get back to work, and I was afraid of losing my job.
Okay, let's start. You were presented with this note. By whom?
By her father.
In the office?
Yes.
You signed it?
Yes. I was afraid I'd lose my job if I didn't sign it, and I needed to pay child support.
So, you had a choice of either signing the note or going to find another job, right?
Yes, let's put it that way.
Did you honestly believe, sir, that her father was going to keep you on the payroll after he found out that you were fooling around with somebody else in his business?
He told me I could.
I got a bridge I want to sell you. You're 24 years old and you tell me that you have child support that you have to pay.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
How old?
She's going to be 5.
So you were a teenager when you had this child, right?
Yes.
Were you married to the child's mother?
Yes.
Is that your only marriage?
Yes.
So you signed this note for $3,000. Is that what it was?
$3,200, yes.
And according to you, you paid some of it.
Yes.
And she acknowledges that you paid some of it.
I wrote him a receipt every time he made me a payment.
Made you a payment, but money was also deducted from his check at work.
Yes, and my father wrote him receipts. I have those. That's how they started, and I continued writing them.
Let me see the receipts. Well, the last one was in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a balance due of $2,294.
Correct.
And you're still suing for $3,000.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
I have a proposal I had done. He kicked holes in my wall and attempted to fix them.
When?
The last month that we were together, when he started acting really bizarre.
Before or after you had him sign this note?
Before.
Forget it. What's next?
The wedding invitations that I had to pay my mother back for.
He had ordered those invitations before this note, correct?
Yes.
Well, look, Miss Urea, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here.
I understand.
You, at a time, memorialized in writing and had him sign, your father had him sign, what he owed you as of a date certain. He, according to you, made certain payments. These are all the payments that she says she has. And do you get a copy of these receipts?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any question in your mind that the last receipt indicates that the balance due is $2,294?
I believe that's what it was, yes.
Okay.
I don't have any of the stuff she wants me to pay for. I also paid for her school, which I was never reimbursed for. I figured we'd just make it even.
Well, did you have an agreement with her to pay?
A verbal agreement she was going to pay me back, yes.
Well, explain that to me.
I gave, because her father would pay for school if she got good grades. So in order to get started, she needed money to go to school, to pay for first semester, and then her father would pick it up from there.
How much did you pay?
I don't exactly know how much it was.
Well, if you... Give me another reason why you don't owe this money. The first one I'm shelving. Give me another reason why you don't owe this money. The first one I'm shelving.
The whole time we were together, I was also helping her on her credit cards and stuff like that. Just from the past year, I have almost $2,500 in canceled checks and stuff to her credit cards.
So?
That's not
You both, you...
Her credit cards and stuff like that. Just from the past year, I have almost $2,500 in canceled checks and stuff to her credit cards.
So?
That's not
You both
true.
used her credit cards. You're clutching at straws, Mr. Snyder. You signed a note for $3,200. You're 24 years old. You've been married once, divorced once. You're the father of a child. That's the end of the story. If you had said to me that our father coerced you into signing this note because he took your left ankle and tied it around your right ear, right? And he was torturing you, that's against the law.
Well, you don't know her father. I mean, he has called me threatening me that he's going to come take it from me and stuff like that.
You mean when you didn't pay?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different story. When you didn't pay, I'm talking about when you signed the note. And according to you, you felt coerced into signing this note because you were afraid to lose your job.
Not only that, her father is extremely intimidating.
What do you mean is extremely intimidating, sir?
He just is. He's very
Like me?
hot-tempered.
Huh?
No, actually, he's more intimidating than you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you signed a note, you have an obligation to pay it. It's as simple as that. Not smart to fool around like that, Mr. Snyder. You living with anybody now, sir?
Yes.
Who?
My girlfriend?
Same girlfriend that you were
Yes.
meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting? Hmm? All right, what's the bottom line here? Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,294. Thank you, that's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues.
The calendar in the matter of Iarussi versus Kramer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Well, this is a rather interesting complaint. Mr. Iarussi, according to your complaint, you became involved with the defendant's campaign when he decided to run for mayor of New York City. And I gather from your papers and from his response that he decided to run for mayor because he had developed a certain celebrity, because the character of Kramer from that wonderful Seinfeld program was fashioned after him. Is that right, sir?
This is a fact, Your Honor.
You're much better looking.
Thank you.
So you became involved with this fiasco because
Your Honor.
even I'm sure Mr. Kramer over here knew that it was a fiasco.
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Well, listen.
That was a serious intent at the time I began this campaign.
Mr. Kramer, New York City is an interesting place. And I've lived in New York most of my adult life. And having seen you, sir, and having watched your character for many, many years, I will tell you that you're an interesting character, but I wouldn't let you run a city. We've had that already in New York. So, you became involved in this fiasco
Yes, Your Honor.
that I assume you believe you're an intelligent human being,
I believe so, most of the time.
and you are a New Yorker.
Yeah, a New Yorker.
So, as a New Yorker, you're supposed to have a certain amount of common sense, know where it's at, know what's real, know what's not real, know when it's raining, know when it's somebody else is doing something on your leg. You're supposed to know all those things, right?
Well, I did live
So
in
you
Texas for 8 years.
So you became involved with this thing sort of
Yes.
on a lark.
Something like that.
Sure. And so you're suing him because you say that he promised to pay you 50 cents a piece for the signatures that you got on a petition.
And I did a great job.
Just a second.
Okay.
50 cents apiece for the signatures that you got on petitions so that he could get his name on the ballot. Because you needed how many signatures, sir?
7,500.
How many did you get?
We got over 7,500.
Did you pay anybody else for getting signatures?
No, Your Honor.
Then you decided, enough of this foolishness, and I'm throwing in the towel.
It became a lot of work.
Yeah. What kind of work do you usually do?
I run a reality tour, a Kramer's reality tour, my show for Seinfeld fans. It's a multimedia romp through the world of Seinfeld, and I have a stage show based on it. And so basically I travel around the country, and I run this tour in New York City every weekend. And that's what I've been doing for a livelihood.
But what are you going to do when Seinfeld goes off the air? You're going to have to get a real job, Mr. Kramer.
I doubt it very much, because, you know, there's only 39 Honeymooner episodes, and that's still here. So Seinfeld will finish with 177. It's part of the world's cultural landscape.
Mr. Kramer, what did you do before Jerry Seinfeld made you an icon?
I managed to live through my own entrepreneurial ways. I did stand-up comedy for a number of years. I invented electronic jewelry. I managed a rock reggae band. I had everything to avoid actual work, I might add.
I'm glad you added that. Tell me how he promised to pay you.
Well, let's go back a little and how we actually met at a conference sometime in 1997, and I was putting together some articles, and I had wanted to do an article on Kramer for some Far Eastern magazines. So anyway, Kramer, I went on the reality tour, and I have to admit it's a great tour, and I enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. And so right after that, I started putting some articles together on Kramer, and on April 22nd, I had gotten a letter inviting me to share a moment of history with the real Kramer at 6 p.m. at the Cafe St. Francis. So I went there, and Kramer had about 5 or 10 people there, and they talked about his intention to run for mayor, and people got picked for various positions to basically run the campaign. My duties were to get people to volunteer for the campaign and anything I can do along that line, and also go out and get signatures myself.
And you got enough nutty New Yorkers who came
I got a
up.
lot of signatures. I think I'm the best there is in signatures
Good.
getting, and Kramer will attest to that.
You got a lot. You said you got a lot of signatures, a lot of good-looking women, a lot of signatures you couldn't use because they weren't citizens, but they were good-looking.
So anyway, there was a time in the campaign where I was putting in a lot of time, so I had talked to the treasurer about not being able to do this because it was too time-consuming and needed to work something out. And he says, well, let me throw some money your way, and we'll have some money coming in, and I could offer what's a standard rate for signatures, and it's pretty much 50 cents a signature in New York if you do that. Go out and get signatures. So I agreed to that with him, and went.
Where is he?
He couldn't be here today, Your Honor.
Well, you didn't bring him here. You can't tell me what he said to you. You can't tell me that he agreed.
I couldn't get in touch with him.
Well, that's not my problem, sir. That's your problem.
So anyway,
tell me what conversations you had with the defendant.
So Kenny and I had some conversations after that, and after the campaign was over, Kenny decided to back out of the campaign and not go any further. We both had other work and went different ways, and Kenny started traveling a little, and he was really out of pocket. And I had some things coming up where I figured, well, then if there isn't money in the campaign, or I'm not able to get in touch with his campaign treasurer, maybe he could do some appearances for me. And he agreed he would do an appearance for fundraising. And that was the last.
Fundraising for what?
Oh, I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations, and I've won awards for my rape awareness public service announcements for rape crisis centers.
So
I put together 30-second
he would do an appearance
PSAs.
for you.
Right, so he said he would do an appearance for me, and then
Did he do that? Did he do an appearance for you?
No, he did not. But he was also very busy, and I did keep trying to reach him, and there was never an anger about this. It's just that I kept trying
So when did you get angry, Mr. Irizuli?
Well, I never got angry. I think he's a wonderful person and a good human being. I just think he owes me the money.
Well, just a second. Well, when did you decide that you wanted the money?
About a month ago.
About a month ago?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was an intern on the Kramer for Mayor campaign, and I just want to say that at no time did Kramer act improperly towards me at all.
And later today,
I don't find, sir, that part of your lawsuit is legitimate for this court. Do you understand? That is all I'm entertaining, sir. Do you understand? Period. End of discussion. I'm telling you what it is. If you wish to leave, you can leave.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Iarussi wants former mayoral candidate Kenny Kramer to pay him for working on his campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
I have a couple of questions for you. Did you ever have a direct conversation with Mr. Kramer wherein Mr. Kramer said that he was going to pay you for working on his campaign?
No, I did not. I did not.
So, is there any other person here that you had a direct conversation with who was attached to his campaign?
Well, I talked to John Seminary. Yes.
You didn't hear my question.
Go ahead.
Is there another person here who was attached to his campaign who you had a conversation with about payment of 50 cents each for the signatures that you gathered?
Yes.
And who was that?
John Seminario.
Where is he?
He's seated to the left of Kramer.
Step up here, sir.
I was Kenny's campaign manager from the whole time before that meeting began. We had hoped the campaign would be a little more successful. What we had thought would be, we had hats and pins and bumper stickers and T-shirts made, and we hoped that those funds would be able to kick off the campaign as far as the fundraising goes. And that never materialized. We had felt that the mayor
People in New York aren't that stupid.
Well, no, we had felt that the mayor
Could you answer my question for me? I mean, this is not a catharsis for you, sir.
No, it's not.
Did you ever,
no,
as campaign manager?
No.
How come you always anticipate it? I feel like Johnny Carson and Karnak. They answer my question before I ask the question. Listen to me. Did you ever tell the plaintiff that he was going to be paid for gathering signatures?
Yes, we had spoken. And
about what?
About some money for out-of-pocket expenses because people were traveling on the subway by themselves.
Right. I can
there were
understand
times,
that.
and I know there was a rainstorm, and I was caught with a bunch of people, and I went for a few rounds, So there were.
What does that mean, a few rounds?
Well, I paid for a few beers and some drinks for people.
Oh.
So,
Mr. Iarussi, I gather you had a conversation with him wherein it was discussed that you had certain expenses, and what were you going to do about it, if anything? And he said, we'll try to take care of some of your expenses, and if we can't, we'll try to work out some other way to make you happy. Is that about it?
Yeah, that's about it.
How does that translate into 50 cents a signature?
No, that translated into a money amount where we also talked about a personal appearance where I would
Just a second. Was there any time frame with regard to this personal appearance?
I emailed Kramer on July 10th, and he responded saying, let me know the date and time.
So did you tell him? Did you give him a date and time?
I did, but he was, well, no.
Just a second.
No, not a definite one because he was out of town.
So did you give him a date when you wanted him to appear and give him sufficient time so that he wasn't doing all this traveling so he could appear for you? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
And when was that?
July 10th, 1997.
Do you remember receiving that email?
I may have, Your Honor, but as Mr. Ruzzi said, I had been traveling a great deal. But, one thing I'd like to make clear now, the dispute that he claims is about these signatures. But I'd like to just enter into evidence, if I may, some of these sheets of signatures.
Listen to me. You don't have to bother, because I find that there was no agreement with regard to payment for signatures.
Well, even if there was, the signatures are totally invalid. There are 15 signatures on our page. Every one of them is women. He's just
What's wrong with women?
Well, and many of them from illegible. You can't read signatures. You can't, so the point is, if you're paying for signatures, it should be a valid signature.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
Mr. Colford, you're supposed to file a lawsuit because it's a legitimate lawsuit, not because you're using it as a sword of Damocles that you're holding over somebody's head.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Iarussi wants former mayoral candidate Kenny Kramer to pay him for working on his campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
Mr. Kramer, I haven't heard any testimony that is in any way persuasive that there was a contract, an employment contract, even if it was as an independent contractor for him to be paid for those signatures. What I have heard is, and what I tend to believe, is that he was supposed to be in some way compensated for all the hard work that he did. There was never a fixed amount, but that you did in fact assure him that you would make a personal appearance for him at one of his fundraisers. Now, isn't that true?
That is true, Your Honor.
And all I'm trying to find out is whether you welched on that agreement.
And I'm available to make a personal appearance at at any time and date that I'm available for.
Well, then this is perfect. We have a fine resolution to this case. Sir, I find that there was no contractual arrangement between you and the defendant to pay you for the signatures. However, I do find that he did agree, either through himself or through his manager, to compensate you for some out-of-pocket expenses, and you agreed to take the services of Mr. Kramer in compensation or in lieu of the dollar amount, and Mr. Kramer has indicated that he is prepared to follow through with that. So it's been a pleasure meeting you. I wish you continued success. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Look, I just want to say here and now that I was an intern on the Kramer for Mayor campaign, and I just want to say that at no time did Kramer act improperly towards me at all. Okay, I just want to make that very clear, because we are in a sort of a semi-legal, semi-media setting. I just want to make that clear. No soiled clothing of any kind, nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Kofod versus D'Amato. Step forward, please.
39-year-old medical salesman John Kofed is suing his on-again, off-again lover of 5 years, Gwen D'Amato.
Well, I've tried to make heads tails out of these papers. A brief statement of the facts in these cases are what's usually asked for. You folks wrote a novella with regard to your complaint and your answer. But I gather from these papers that you were in a long personal and business relationship with each other, neither of which worked out.
Correct.
And, sir, you allege that during that time you advanced vast sums of money to the defendant, which are not the subject of this lawsuit. You understand that? Because you say that she owes you some $25,000. That's not the jurisdiction of this court.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So that what you are asking for is the personal property that you left behind when she told you to leave.
Well, actually, Your Honor, I'm asking for up to $5,000, which is within this jurisdiction of this court. I've given you documentation showing over $20,000 that I advanced on behalf of the defendant based on...
Well, sir, let me ask you this question. Why, if you have documentation to show that she owes you $25,000, why would you settle for $5,000?
Well, Your Honor, the defendant has no assets left in her name whatsoever. She's got somebody that's taking care of her, who has bought her a vehicle, who's buying her a home, who's given her thousands of dollars of cash. I have absolutely no chance of recovering anything from this woman if I have a judgment against her anyway. So then, sir, now what we're going to talk about is the personal property that you left behind. Do you understand? You just told me that if you get a judgment against her, it's an empty judgment. Right? Is that right? Not exactly, Your Honor.
Well, that's what you just told me, sir.
I did tell you that, Your Honor. The reason that I filed this case to begin with is because I'm continually harassed by the defendant. I had a temporary restraint.
Just a second. Just a second.
I had the defendant place a temporary restraining order against me without supporting facts, which was thrown out in court by a judge on June the 20th. At that time, I served her with a small claims case so that I had something legally against her that I could always hold in my hands in case she tried to do something again against me.
Mr. Kofod, what you've just told me is you're abusing the court system. When you file a lawsuit, you're supposed to file a lawsuit because it's a legitimate lawsuit, not because you're using it as a sort of Damocles that you're holding over somebody's head. If you have a problem with her with regard to filing false complaints against you, then there is a cause of action that you can file against her. What I'm telling you now, sir, is the only thing that I'm dealing with in this case is the property that you say that you left behind, which you say totals, so I've read these papers even though they kept me up half the night trying to figure them out, $1,000 $25. And since you say she doesn't have any money, we're going to talk about the property. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand?
I understand, Your
Good.
Honor, but
I want you to understand.
Am I not within my rights, Your Honor, to sue her for what she has borrowed from me and not paid back, and for property that I paid for?
I don't find, sir, that part of your lawsuit is legitimate for this court. Do you understand?
I understand, Your
Fine.
Honor, but...
Take that to civil court where the jurisdiction is beyond the $5,000 jurisdiction of this court. That is all I'm entertaining, sir. Do you understand? Period. End of discussion. I'm telling you what it is. If you wish to leave, you can leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm talking about a Toshiba microwave, a Panasonic 2-line business speaker phone, Sears Kenmore vacuum cleaner, heavy duty, miscellaneous dishes, Tupperware, clothes, and appliances. Total value of plaintiff's property in defendant's possession, $1,025. That is what I'm hearing today. Do you understand that?
Your Honor, I can't afford to take her to civil court and hire an attorney to do
Fine, then
that.
let's deal with the property that's here.
But my case was for the money that she took from me also.
Mr. Kofod, do you want me to consider the items here that you outline that she has in her possession that belong to you? Do you want me to consider those items?
What I would like you to consider, Your Honor, is exactly what I wrote down, was money and property taken.
This case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Calendar in the matter of Stelly versus Willow. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Stelly, you and the defendant had a long relationship, I gather from your papers, and you have a 9-year-old child together, correct?
Yes.
Boy or a girl?
Boy.
A nice round number, about $5,000.
Yes, she does.
A nice round number, about $5,000.
Yes, she does.
You want to explain why?
Yes, I've loaned Miss Wills several $1,000s for different things. Repairing her automobile, loan for a down payment on a house, a loan for a car, which I took title in collateral. Miss Wills has promised to pay me back for these loans, and she has failed to do so.
Let's take the loans specifically, sir.
Okay.
Loan number 1.
Loan number...
Specifically, sir.
Okay.
Loan number 1.
Loan number 1 was for a transmission for a Chevy Blazer that Miss Kathleen Willows owns.
And how much was that loan?
That loan was in the amount of $1332.18. Here's a check.
Okay, so let's do this one at a time. First of all, how long have you been apart? Long time?
About 5 years.
Okay, and how long did you actually live together?
About 3.
Did he give you money?
He paid the repair guys to fix the transmission.
And was there an agreement that...
He paid the repair guys to fix the transmission.
And was there an agreement that... Time?
You might call it that, yes.
Time?
You might call it that, yes.
Okay, what's this next alleged loan for, sir?
Okay, that was for $6,000. That, yes.
Okay, what's this next alleged loan for, sir?
Okay, that was for $6,000 for a Pontiac Grand Am.
All right, now this was in 1994, so you were separated at the time. You were no longer living together. She acknowledges that you made a loan to her to buy this car, correct?
Correct.
Am I right?
Well, to purchase the car, yes.
What did I say?
Yeah, I said yes. I'm sorry.
Now, how much of the $6,000 did you pay him back?
Well, the first year and a half that I had the car, I was taking care of my ailing father. I was out of work, and I didn't give David any money toward the vehicle. Then a year and a half later, I finally got enough money together to move out. When I was moving, David said, "You can't take the car. That's my car." I said, "David, I need that car. I'd just gotten a job, and I needed the car." And I said, "I can pay you $50 a month." And here's a history of the payments that I made to him. For a year and a half, I made $50 a month payments.
What's the total?
I think it totaled $550.
So on a $6,000 loan, let us assume that you paid him $550. Then, Mr. Stelly, you repossessed the car.
Yes, I did. I repossessed the car because she was failing to keep a steady payment, and I felt that she should be paying me more money to pay off this loan fast, because Miss Willow has now entered into a new relationship, and I don't want to be financially responsible for her anymore.
Okay. It is clear to me that you had an
I'm financially
arrangement.
responsible for my son, but I'm not going to be financially responsible for her.
Mr. Stelly, listen to me carefully, sir. $550, assuming that's what she paid you in $50 increments. And you acknowledge that she made some payments to you, right?
Yes.
But then you repossessed the car.
For lack
What
of
did
payment.
you do with the car?
What did I do with the car?
That was my question.
I have done nothing with it. I have offered the car back to Miss Willow, and she wanted to make a more reasonable payment.
No, you have the car.
I know I have the car, but I have offered the car back to Miss Willow so that she can make a more reasonable payment to me, so that she could continue to have a vehicle. I did not take this vehicle to be mean or anything. I took the vehicle so Miss Willow could sit there and see that I am not pussyfooting around anymore, that I would like to have a payment so she could be out of debt to me.
Mr. Stelly, she doesn't want the car anymore. According to her answer, she went out and she bought another car.
Yes,
is that
she
right?
did.
That's true.
So now you have the car, sir.
Yes, I do.
So what you have to do, Mr.
Okay,
Stelly,
right here is
sell the car. It's in your name.
Right here is our quotes for Kelly Blue Book on the value of the car is. I'm asking the court for the difference between the two.
Well, let me see the Blue Books.
Okay, there's one in here for good.
I have Kelly Blue Book too.
Let me take a look.
And the car's in good to excellent condition.
Let me take a
Your
look.
Honor.
The car is in good to fair condition, Your Honor.
She's got good to excellent. Here.
I got those quotes from off the internet.
Well, you have to believe the internet, right? Okay. What year is this car?
It's an 89.
And you have the sedan?
Four-door.
Four-door sedan, right? Okay. Wholesale is $2,850. Suggested retail is $5,000. Okay. Return that to her. And you have, sir, on your page is the trade-in value in good shape.
Yes, that's
Is
what
20
I consider. That's what I consider the car to be in. I have a videotape of the vehicle showing the conditions of the tires, which are all basically all four of them are bald.
Sir,
it's missing a
you
muffler.
have trade.
It's missing a muffler.
Trade-in value, sir. Trade-in value is.
That's what I got off the internet. Okay. Thank you. I'll be.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
I have maintenance records and repair receipts on the car
Whatever.
to show
The
that
car
I took
is at
care of
least
the car.
the car is at least worth $3,000.
Yes, I agree to that.
At least $3,000, and she has paid you $550. So that's $3,550, leaving $2,450 after you sell it, right?
That if I get that.
Well, how am I supposed to know, sir? I mean, you come to court. It's your responsibility.
That's right. It
to
is
come.
my
It's your
responsibility. That's why I got this tape right here that shows you the condition the car
I'm not
is
interested in seeing your tape, sir. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you had sold the car and you came to court and you said, this is what I got for the car in an arm's length transaction, I put an ad in the paper, this is what I sold it for, then I would know. Right now, I am speculating because of the posture of this case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is what they're trying to sell their cars for.
I don't care. You brought me the papers. I don't care what other people are doing. How do I know you didn't put those ads in the paper?
And later today,
I tried to tell him not to eat it, and he ate it anyways. He was drunk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Stelly wants the mother of his child, Kathy Willows, to pay for a car he repossessed.
What else?
I have other loans.
Like what?
Like the down payment on a house.
This is ridiculous.
This check right here is for $15,000.
Sir,
No.
sir, listen to me, sir. You're in the wrong court.
No,
if she owes you $15,000, then you're in the wrong court.
She paid me back $9,000 of it.
Sir, you're in the wrong court. That's still $6,000. Go ahead. Give me the next one.
You know, Your Honor, I have given this woman thousands of dollars. I have let her live in my house. Lived in my house.
With our son.
With my son.
No.
And her son. Okay.
What else?
These are two clips out of the auto section that people are trying to sell their Pontiac Grand M's, and this is what they're trying to sell their cars for.
I don't care. You brought me the papers. You brought me the papers. You brought me the papers. I don't care what other people are doing. How do I know you didn't put those ads in the paper? You brought me the papers. I'm using your figures.
Okay.
Fair condition.
Why don't we get your paper?
I'm using your paper, sir. The papers that you gave me.
Yeah, okay, from off the internet.
I couldn't live with you 2 minutes. Anything else you want to tell me?
I just want the money that this woman has promised to repay me.
Let me explain something to you, sir. From me, against her, you are going to be awarded $2,450. She has already given you $550. Now, you are going to sell the car, and based upon your figures, you're going to get $3,000 for the car. I mean, am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything. Okay, you're saying I can and probably will sell the car for $3,000.
You want me to dismiss your lawsuit, Mr. Stelly,
No.
and wait until it's without prejudice? You can leave.
No,
Go out and sell the car, and then come back. Is that what you'd like me to do?
No.
Be more than happy to do that.
No, I would like to get this thing sold so we close this chapter of our lives.
Good. So then I'm awarding you, sir, $2,450.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Party's on Milner.
And now the next case.
Party's on Milner versus Dutter. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Flora Milner is suing her former landlord, Francis Dutter, 44, for return of personal belongings. Ms. Dutter says Flora will get them back when she reimburses her for utility bills and a dead fish.
Ms. Milner, according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant in her home. And you moved into her home with your baby. It was 18 months old. Is that right?
Yes.
And that lasted only several months. You moved out. She kept some of your things. You want your things back.
That's right.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
She says that you owe her money, and that when you pay her the money, you can get your things back. Is that this case?
Correct.
Ms. Milner, what month did you move into the house?
December.
And what was the rent arrangement?
We had a verbal agreement of $250 plus I'd pay my phone bill.
Is that right?
Correct.
And you had no written lease?
No. No.
And you lived in the house until, according to this, the month of June.
That's right.
Something happened in the month just prior to that. You wanted to move out. Did you pay your rent for the month of June?
I did.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you moved out before July 1st?
That's correct.
Now, she's not suing for anything other than her property back.
That's right.
And you say you have her property.
Correct.
So you tell me, what money do you say she owes you?
She owes me for 2 months that she had her stuff in the room, storage fees.
Just a second. Wait a second. Hold on. Hold on a second. You say she owes you $500 for July and August rent.
Correct.
Well, she wasn't living there in July and August.
Correct.
So why does she owe you for July and August rent?
She gave me no notice. We had made an agreement, at least give me 2 months, at least give me a month's notice. I gave her 2 months to please, if that, to be out by that time, but give me notice of some kind because I rented the room to her.
She's not required to give you any notice, madam. You don't have a rental agreement with her. She doesn't have to give you any notice. She paid her rent through June. So let's get rid of July and August rent.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was a goldfish that he ate.
How big a goldfish?
It was yay big.
A big goldfish.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Flora Milner says former landlord Frances Dutter won't return her personal belongings. Frances says Flora still owes her money for bills and a dead fish.
Now, phone bills June and July.
Correct.
She wasn't there in July.
She didn't pay me for July.
She wasn't there in July. How could you have a phone bill for July?
It carries on through.
Well, I want to know what her June phone bill was.
It runs anywhere from $20 to $25 a month.
How much do you owe for the phone?
It was $14 for 2 months that I owed her when I had moved out.
And let's say you owed her another $20 that she got in her next month's bill. That's $34. Now, the electrical connection fee, water deposit from when she moved in, what is that?
We pay the first time turn-on fee, and then I also paid the water to be turned on plus an extra $15 to be turned on the next day.
You say here that you had to put down the deposit for the gas and electric when you moved into the house because there was no gas and electric in the house for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Not the gas, just the light and the water.
The light and the
I
water.
put the deposits down. I have the statement from them.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, you may.
So if I gather correctly, you are suing her for the cost of reconnecting when she canceled the accounts, when she moved out. Am I correct?
Yes.
Well, you can't get that. So far what she owes you is $34. Okay, and this says you have a $40 credit. All right. And when the bill was closed, there is now a credit of 40 cents, which means that there were $40 taken out for utilities. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, that's what this clearly says from light and water. All right. So now let's get to this reimbursement for a dead fish. What's that about?
Well, when I was out of town, I drove over to Colorado with my daughter, and I asked Flora, please do not have a party at my house. And then when I was over there, she had called me and said that a fish had died. So I took it as the cat got the fish. She told me a cat got the fish. Well, 2 or 3 weeks later after that, she had admitted to my son that because his friends were saying, people were saying, hey, you got to read about it. Well, Flora threw a big party, and the kids were intoxicated, and one of them, well, Flora threw a big party, and the kids were intoxicated, and one of them bit the head off of a live fish.
Did that happen?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And this was when you had a party there?
I had about 15 people there.
And somebody acted like an idiot?
Yeah.
One of your friends?
No, it was her son's friend.
Her son's friend?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was her son's friend, Kenny.
How old is her son?
Her son's 19.
And how old is this Kenny?
19.
So Kenny was the one who bit the fish?
Yes, he did.
In half? Do you know Kenny's last name?
No, I do not.
Do you know Kenny's
No, I
last
don't.
name? Ask your son. Do you know Kenny's last name?
No, I do not.
Do you know Kenny's
No, I
last
don't.
name? Ask your son.
Okay.
Good. Now, so what I have is that she owes you $34 for a phone bill, and based upon what I saw from the power company, you probably owe her for a power and light bill that she paid that she was not supposed to pay, that was taken out of her $40 deposit. So that comes out to about a wash. Therefore, I don't believe that there was any reason for you to retain her property, and you have to return it. She doesn't have to pay you for July and August. Your son's friend bit the head off a fish.
He should have never been invited.
Well, your son is over 18, is he not? Your son is over 18, is he
Ma'am,
not?
she should have never had that party there.
That
That's what
may
I'm
be
requesting.
correct.
So I feel it's her responsibility because she allowed them to come into my home when I was out of town.
Was your son living there?
Ma'am, he was at Camp Pendleton.
He was there that weekend.
No,
when
he
you were...
was not.
He was there that evening.
He was not. He was in Camp Pendleton.
Just a second. Was her son
No, her
there?
son wasn't there.
Her son wasn't there?
No, he wasn't there.
So how did Kenny get to this party?
I invited him.
Then you pay.
Okay.
For the fish.
All right.
Then you pay for the fish. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought your son was at home.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did this fish cost?
Well, it was a purchase. He had it for 4 years. It was purchased at $25. Here's the fish, and they go by the size.
No, that wasn't the fish.
Oh, that wasn't the fish.
It was a goldfish. It was a goldfish.
There was 2 of them that had died.
It was a goldfish that he ate.
How big a goldfish?
It was yay big.
A big goldfish.
And I offered her, when I went to retrieve my property, I offered her a koi fish from my dad's pond.
She's lying. She is lying.
Whatever. He bought the fish, you say, for $25. So right now she owes you $25. You have to return her property, madam.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem.
Good. And you owe her $25 for the fish.
Okay.
You got it?
All right.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Judge, this is case number 263 on the calendar in the matter of Garay versus Romaniak. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Don't look so unhappy. It's only money. Right?
That's right.
It's only money. Well, you had an unusual arrangement with the defendant, according to your complaint, and he seems to acknowledge this was your arrangement. You were dating, you became romantically involved, decided to live together. You're from the United States?
Yes.
And you're from?
Canada.
And this was the arrangement that you made, from my understanding, that while you were in the United States, where you were planning to spend half your time, you would pay. And while you were in Canada,
I would pay.
you would pay. So you spent 6 months in the States, and you paid.
That's right.
All the expenses.
Yes.
And then you moved to Canada, and you ran out of money.
I paid. I'll explain that a little later.
Okay. So tell me, how did you enter into this rather unique arrangement with funds?
Well, it was just that we were going together last year, and then in November, we got engaged in September. In November, he left, and we weren't together for a while, and then in April, we got back together again. And in the middle of April, he asked me would I like to go to Canada to live with him, or to stay up there in Canada for the summer months, and then come back, because I worked in Palm Springs. And I said yes. I said, but how are we going to, or we worked out how we were going to pay for the money and that. And I said, well, while we're here, while we're in the United States, I will pay for everything here. So I paid for his payments on his house insurance, his electric, his gas bills, and everything.
So you were living in his house?
No, I have my own house. We both have a home in Palm Springs.
So that you were paying for your house and you were paying for his house while he was here?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So then we left and we went to Canada. We arrived in Canada. We first went to see his daughter, and then we went to a little town called Penticton. So we started looking around and we saw this one house that we thought. And we said, well, Dad, I wish we could get it. And I said, well, look, I will put the money down, the $3,000 down. You pay the payments on it. So that was the arrangements. And then we moved in the house on June the 1st.
This house that you purchased?
The one we purchased in Penticton, Canada. Okay. And we lived in that house. The middle of July, he left me and went to see his daughter for 4 days.
Did he tell you he was leaving?
Yes, he told me the day before that he was leaving the next morning.
Had you had an argument? Had you not been
We
getting
had been
along?
out bickering and arguing, and it was just like he had his children there, and I was tired and everything else. But he left and went and lived with his daughter for 4 days. When he came back, he says, that's it. The house is going on the market. He had been to the real estate office already. When he came back, I was at the neighbors. I was so upset and everything else that he had left. So I came home. I didn't know what to do. I just said, I can't live like this. The tension was so bad and everything else. So I left, and I came down back to Palm Springs. My car was in bad condition. He had supposed to fix the radiator. He didn't. I had to keep putting water in it. My air conditioning wasn't working. I had 2 blowout tires.
It was
and
a terrible
emotionally,
experience.
it was a horrible thing.
It was a horror.
Go ahead. When I got back, I had to go to the doctors. My friends had to take me to the doctors. My nerves were so bad, and I've been on nerve pills since. All I want is, gives me my money, I'll sign the house to him, and then I'm finished.
What money are you talking about, Ms. Garay?
$5,000.
Now, I
Not
know
all
you-
the other money I've spent, the $5,000.
What's $5,000 for?
The $3,000 are for the house, the money I put down on the house. He can have the house. And also, the rest is right here what I have paid out. On his house here, all the payments, the house, expenses that I had coming down. You know, I had to stay in a motel, gasoline,
Well, Ms.
my
Garay,
car breaking down.
all those expenses you're not going to get back. You know that. You know that.
But it still comes to $4,845.20. And this is what I have paid out, Your Honor.
Well, what you've paid out is not necessarily something that he agreed to pay you back.
And this is
for.
what he has paid out. The bottom amount is
Okay.
American money.
All right, sir, let me hear you.
Your Honor, I don't believe what she's saying.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Last year, I took her for... Yes, ma'am.
You don't have to believe what she's saying.
Okay.
I got to believe what she's saying.
Last year, I took her for 4 months down to Canada. I paid all expenses, right? I sent her a plane ticket to Winnipeg. That's 3,000 miles away from here. And we toured the whole Western Canada. I took her through the prairies to Banff, Lake Louise, ice fields, and all over.
Who paid for that?
I paid for the whole thing for 4 months, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I promise to give you the best of myself and to ask of you no more than you can give. That's her promise to me.
And later today,
The first time and the last time I've ever met her, she tried running me and my husband off the road because she was, I guess, mad that he was going to stay with me and not her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Splitting up after an 11-month romantic relationship, Jean Garay now claims John Romaniuk owes her thousands.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So what made you decide that this arrangement, this relationship, wasn't going to work when you went to your daughters?
Because when we got to Vancouver, Palm Springs, we had an argument because every day her man friend phoned for about 45 minutes on the phone while I was there. And I said I didn't like the idea that he phoning every day. So she got mad at me. She said, that's none of your business. So she said, leave the house. So I left. I didn't see her until middle of April.
When you were back in Canada, sir, you bought the house.
I'm coming to that, ma'am.
Get there.
Oh, then middle of April, somehow we got back together.
Shh. You're in the house that
Yes.
you just bought.
Yes.
You decide to go to your children.
Why? Because when my son came over to visit us, my granddaughter spilled a little bit of milk on a rug that we didn't have no furniture or anything like that. So she got mad and she said, your son doesn't know how to bring the children up.
So that's when you got mad.
So I got angry. So I went to my daughter's place, because my daughter's got I have 4 grandchildren, and to spend over there. When I came back, she put the sign of her own on to sell the house. House was for sale. I said, what are you doing? And then beside that, all the payments were...
So don't tell me about payments, because let me tell you what my thinking is,
Okay.
sir. She put down $3,000 towards the purchase price of that house. Now, you have family in Canada. Your
Yes.
son lives there, your
Yes.
grandchildren live there, and you will be going back to Canada.
Yes.
And you love this house that you
Yes.
originally bought.
Yes.
So it seems to me that if you are no longer a couple,
Yes.
that this house is something that shouldn't be binding you together.
No.
Right?
For sure.
Right.
Mr. Romaniuk, what I'm saying to you, sir, is she doesn't want to know you anymore. You don't want to know her anymore.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you shouldn't have to be bothered with this business. She should be out of the real estate business in Canada, because but for you, she wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
Got it? So you, sir, are going to give her the $3,000 to get her out of the Canada business. You got it? And then if you sell the house for more, she will wish you good luck. And if you sell the house for less and you don't get the $3,000 back, So be it. And if you can rent the house and make a couple of bucks when you rent the house, terrific. And if you want to live there and retire there yourself, you can do that. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I promise to give you the best of myself and to ask of you no more than you can give. I promise to accept you the way you are. I promise to respect you. I promise to love you in good times and bad times. That's her promise to me. Now I didn't care what I spent because I loved her and I enjoyed every minute with her. That's it. That's my
He loved me, but I couldn't walk down the street and look at anybody else because I was going to bed with them all.
And now the next case.
Parties on Newdecker versus Key. Step forward, please.
29-year-old hairdresser Lisa Newdecker is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Christopher Key, 30, for money she loaned him before he met his current wife, Melissa.
Well, I've read your papers. There are a couple of interesting little quirks in these papers that I want to find out about. But basically, Miss Newdecker, this was your boyfriend about 5 years ago.
About 6.5 actually is when I started dating him.
And some 5 years ago, you lent him some money.
Over the course of the time we dated, yes.
How did you lend him this money?
He was short of cash and needed to get miscellaneous items, and I went with him and used my credit cards.
So it was basically credit card bills?
Yes.
And how much altogether was it that he charged at that point?
It was approximately $2,600.
And when you separated, according to these papers, he made a lot of payments.
Yes.
But that he still owes you $870.37.
Approximately, yes.
When was the last time he made a payment?
On October 4th. I received the check about October 7th.
And then he stopped making payments?
Yes.
Why?
Well, in the beginning of the breakup, there was a discrepancy when she came to me with the amount of how much was owed. I didn't remember it totaling up to $2,600, and I told her at the time that I didn't remember it being $2,600, and she insisted that it was.
So when you insist that it was and you say it wasn't, did you look over all the bills?
No,
Why?
because we were separated, it wasn't a matter of me going over and sitting down with her and going over and saying this was mine, that wasn't. She said that it was, and I had figured it to be around $1,600, and
Well,
which is a considerable difference.
So why didn't you go over there and look over the bills? That's a $1,000 discrepancy.
We weren't a couple any longer. It just
So what? You weren't a couple. It seems to me it's now more of a business transaction than anything else. You mean you just thought you'd blow it off?
No. I didn't just think I'd blow it off. It was, like I said, I didn't see it that way, and she's seen that it did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sometimes men do really dumb things. You always get caught because women are great snoops.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 29-year-old hairdresser Lisa Newdecker is suing her ex-boyfriend, carpenter Christopher Key, 30, for money she loaned him before he met his current wife, Melissa.
She had the papers to show you, sir, what items you purchased, I assume. Do you still have them?
Yes.
Well, take a look. 5 years later, sir, take a look.
It's a list of what all the paperwork is.
Once again, like I said, we were a couple at the time, and a lot of these items on here, if you would look them over, I don't know if she's gave you a list of this.
I have nothing.
Would be considered as, you know, when we lived together, if we went out someplace and I paid, I didn't consider it to be a loan.
What do you mean?
Like there's an item on here, half the cost of portraits that we had done together.
Just a second. You had portraits done together. And she put down half the cost.
Right.
I paid the full amount on my credit card.
Well, that sounds fair to me. Doesn't that sound fair to you? Did you go and sit for the portrait?
Well, yes, I did.
She's not asking you to pay for the whole thing, just half.
Right. I understand that.
So give me another one.
Sega game.
Sega game.
Oh, sorry, Sega game tapes.
Those yours?
Yeah. They are now. At the time, you know, like I said, we were a couple.
You're a couple. So let's take a game. Yours. Go.
Well,
give me another one.
Compact discs. Did she listen to the music too? I don't know what
Just a
specific
second.
compact discs they are. Building supplies. I don't remember that one. Building supplies.
What are
for
building
what?
supplies?
I don't remember exactly what it was for, but it was from Builder Square, and he was a subcontractor. I'm not. So
Which
I would
is
have
true. I
no
was
need.
a subcontractor, but at the same time, building supplies. Was it for something that we did? I remember the place that we lived in. There was we were going to put a fence around the place for the guy that we leased from. You know, I mean, there was just different items at different
just
times.
a second. Did you put a fence around the house?
No, we didn't. But the materials
Well, if you
were.
didn't, then what are you telling me the story about?
My point is this, though, Your Honor. When we lived together, the things that she bought, I didn't keep an itemized list, so I can't very well stand here and argue with her and say, well, I bought this and you bought that, so we should be even, because, like I said, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you don't keep receipts for different things that you buy for each other, but she did because she put them on her card. Now, I don't see, whereas, like I said, in a relationship, that you just do that as a couple.
Can I see the things, please?
Or at least I do.
Miss Newdecker, let me look through some of these things. Men's dress clothes for grandfather's funeral.
I didn't remember that she'd bought them. Like I said, of course, I didn't remember what all was on the list.
She's got the list and she's got the bills. You need a muffler and brakes for your car at one point?
I don't remember that either, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. This has been,
Did you have
like I said,
an El
5 years ago.
Camino?
Yes, I did.
There you go. All right, now, so I am assuming for the purpose of this case that originally you owed her the $2,600 and that you made payments and she's kept very careful records of those payments and that all she claims that you owe her is $870. But what I really think you're probably angry about, sir, is that she wrote a letter to you which your wife opened. This is your wife?
Yes.
That created some problems for you?
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the amount that I owed her. I honestly did not remember those other items, so
Okay, well,
I didn't
now-
believe that I owed them.
Well, now you do. So your wife opened this letter, and did that distress you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, step up here. Why did it distress you?
Because she said on the letter that my husband had went to see her 9.5 weeks ago, and I had no idea he was keeping in contact with her because of the first time and the last time I've ever met her, she tried running me and my husband off the road. Because she was, I guess, mad that he was going to stay with me and not her. We had only been dating on and off for a month.
How long are you married?
2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. You have any children?
Yep.
How old?
She's going to be 21 months.
And that's his baby?
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you have a seat? How come you're still going to this lady to cut your hair?
The purpose for me going to talk to her was because I owed her this money. But I did tell her that I would pay her.
And while you were there, you got your hair cut?
Yeah, I went to her place of business to see her. I don't...
Going to her place of business is one thing. Sitting down and schmoozing and having your hair cut is another thing. That's what really made your wife angry. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you charge him for the haircut?
Yeah, I gave him a discount, though.
Should have charged him full price.
I know that now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Key, sometimes men do really dumb things. I don't know why they do that. They think they can get away with it. You always get caught. You know why? Because women are great snoops. Terrific. They can smell something that isn't right. Go to a barber. Meanwhile, it sounds to me, Mr. Key, that you got more trouble than the $870 that you owe this lady. It also looks to me as if you've got a very nice but very sad wife and a 21-month-old baby. So you better get your act together. You owe her $870.37. Pay her. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.